Chris, you might want to be next to me.
Be right here. Okay. All right.
Stephen, you want to get with us? All right. I don't know if someone's cueing me.
I think you just launch right in.
DJ Play Nice,
All
what's up,
right.
brother?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Vaughn Martin, Deputy Chief of Campaigns with Popular Democracy, and I'm honored to be with you as our MC for today's press conference. Popular Democracy, the largest network of grassroots organizations in the country, is part of the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools, a badass coalition that called this National Day of Action to protect public schools. Now, who was the our we're talking about? Our schools are for Black, brown, immigrant, low income, queer, and trans students all over the country. Our schools belong to families who see schools not just as institutions, but as the heart of their communities. Our schools are led by educators and school
Leftists are
staff,
worried
the
as hell
backbone
about
of
the
public
Department of
education.
Education going away, and I am
They
here.
show up every day to ensure that young people receive the quality education that we all know they deserve. At Eros, our fundamental belief is that we are stronger together. Grassroots powerhouses like the Journey for Justice Alliance, Alliance for Educational Justice, Popular Democracy, and Advancement Project are uniting with some of the largest teacher unions and staff unions in the country, NEA, AFT, and SCIU, because we know that
We'll
the
crank
most
that down
transformative
just a little bit,
change
maybe if I'm talking over it.
comes when communities and labor
You guys can
join
hear me
forces
okay.
to protect public ed. Today, you're going to hear the stories of folks on the front lines, youth, parents, and staff who have to live with the impact of decisions and policies made here in DC every single day. And these stories are not just
Phil, what's up,
anecdotes.
brother man?
These are moral compasses that should guide every decision maker in this country. Trump and his pick for Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, they want to
Thank you,
destroy
brother
public
DJ, for
education.
dropping that.
They want to advance a racist, transphobic, anti-immigrant, capitalist agenda
The
that puts
phobophobic
young
agenda,
people in
kids.
danger. It threatens their future and it harms our schools. He literally wants to close the Department of Education, and we know that that ain't right, right? Right. Shame. So, while trying to pass tax cuts for his super rich friends, Trump actually wants to
Oh,
slash
man.
our already vastly underfunded public education budgets.
I
We
skimmed
need
through this earlier. I
billionaires
wanted to
out
hear
of
the rest of
schools.
it,
We need
and I know it
Elon
gets
Musk
absolutely
out of our
retarded
government.
in just a little bit.
For decades, our nation's public schools, they've been pillars in our communities, propellers for democracy, and a great equalizer for our robust economy. Like all right-wing authoritarian regimes, they fear equality and they
Dude,
fear
Phil, they are
education. They
tripling
thrive
down
on
on it.
chaos
They
on our
passed
terms,
doubling
and we're
down.
not standing
More
for
like a
that.
quadruple down.
Education is under attack. So what do we do when education's under attack? Fight back. That's right. Together, we're here to meet the moment. We're clear on our mandate to protect one of our most basic and important public institutions. Again, public schools are the foundation of our democracy, and they act as opportunity ladders for our communities. So let's talk quickly about what we are fighting for, because this is a battle for our future. So how do we get there? How do we get to demand fully funded, inclusive, and supportive schools? First, we demand that Congress pass the Keep Our Pact Act and fully fund education, particularly IDEA and Title I, ensuring that students with
Congress
disabilities,
shouldn't have
students
jack
in
shit
low-income
to do with
areas,
education.
that they get the support that they are owed. Project 2025 would dismantle IDEA as we know it, putting the education of more than 7 million young people with disabilities at risk. And we say no. In states that are represented here today, like Pennsylvania and Louisiana and Maryland, Title I makes up 12 to 15% of state education budgets. Gutting this funding is an outright attack, and we refuse to accept it. We also demand an end to federal policies that allow ICE to terrorize students and their families at school. We demand an end to policies that scapegoat and target LGBTQ youth at school.
They're
Schools should
fixing
be
to go
safe
through their
havens, not
whole list.
battlegrounds. We demand full funding for school districts that teach inclusive, honest, LGBTQ-friendly curriculum. Every student deserves to see themselves reflected in their education. Lastly, we're in direct
I
opposition
don't know,
to
Phil. Congress, I
anti-public
think,
school
got him
tax
beat.
credits. We know the damage that privatization does to our communities. and they want to funnel public dollars into private hands at the expense of Black and brown communities. This isn't just policy, y'all. This is a fight for justice, for dignity, and the liberation of our school system. And we are
It's
here
always a
to
fight.
win. So, we have an amazing panel of speakers. Our first speaker is part of what the hour that I described earlier. And we truly need more legislators like him to fight for our schools and communities. He's the author of the Keep Our Pact Act, which is a powerful piece of
Yep,
legislation
yep,
that
DJ.
Eros has supported since day one. Senator Chris Van Hollen was elected to the U.S. Senate by the people of Maryland
They're
in
such
November
victims and they have to
2016,
fight
and he's
so
committed to
hard
fighting
because
every
they're
day to
such
ensure that
victims
Maryland and
that
our
they have to
country
fight.
live up to their full promise of equal rights, equal justice, and equal opportunity. We're so proud that he is our ally. And so please welcome Senator Chris Van Hollen.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Hear a bunch of beating and banging in the
Thank you,
background
Vaughn.
just a
Let's
sec. I
give
got to
it up
start
for
cooking.
Vaughn, and it's great to be with all of you and
So you
Popular
guys are technically sitting in
Democracy.
my kitchen.
It's great to be with the leaders from NEA and AFT and SEIU. Thank you all for being in the fight for our kids' education, because at the end of the day, what this is all about, what it should all be about, is making sure that every child, regardless of zip code, has a chance to get a high quality education. That's why we're here. And if you look at the first 2 weeks, and my God, it's only been 2 weeks since President Trump was sworn in, you can see that there's a direct attack on our goal of trying to make sure that every child, regardless of zip code, gets a quality education. And if you look at what Donald Trump has done in 2 weeks, you have to say that when it comes to education and many other things, but we're focused on education today, he would get a big fat F grade, failing grade from the teachers in this country. Let's start with history. Here's somebody who wants to erase history. We're celebrating Black History Month. He wants to erase Black history from our schools. He doesn't want to tell the truth. Let's look at reading the law of the land. You probably saw the other day that he took this action to try to freeze all federal grants to communities, Head Start programs, and other very important local priorities, including for education. Well, I say he failed English because you can read the law. You can read the law, and that's an illegal act. This is why already 2 federal court judges, one in Rhode Island, one here in the District of Columbia, have already issued temporary restraining orders against that action, saying, you got to read the law. It's right there in English. You're ignoring it. And we in Congress here need to make sure that we back up the law. So he's failing in English. He's failing in history. He is definitely failing in math because simple math will tell you that we need to make this investment in our kids' public education. And if you look at their proposal is to gut investment in public education and transfer it to private schools. They want to put vouchers over public schools. And as part of that plan, they issued an executive order, not just saying that that was their goal, but to shut down the Department of Education. We're expecting that.
Hey, will one of the mods throw a link over to Flying Rich and John Crump right now?
President of the United States of America.
They just went live, and a bunch of people probably want to watch the attorney on retainer
that's
do it
there
live.
to help support our kids and people
I got
getting
my hands kind of full. I
education
can't really
throughout the
get to it.
country. So when I say he gets a big fat F in math and English and history, that's because of his record in the first 2 weeks. And that's before the nomination of Linda McMahon. So Linda McMahon, I'm just telling you something. I'm trying to figure out what her background has been in education. And you need to search far and wide. And I can tell you, even after you do that, you're not going to find anything. She apparently was on one board somewhere in Connecticut that had something to do with education. But then it turned out that she lied on her form about having a degree in education. So this is
Thank you, brother DJ.
they're talking about putting in charge of the United States Department of Education. So we're here to just blow the whistle on the first 2 weeks of the Trump administration to give them the grade they deserve, which is an F, and to make it clear that their nominee to head the Department of Education is completely unqualified to lead this very important federal agency. Let me close with this. There are challenges in education. Thank you for mentioning the Keep Our Pact Act. So the Keep Our Pact Act is a bill that I introduced that says the federal government should make good on two things. First, it should fully fund what it promised on special ed, right, on IDEA. So when the federal government passed the IDEA Act back in the 1970s, it was the right thing to do. We said every child, regardless of disability, deserves a good education. And we said the federal government will pay 40% of that cost. Today, we're at 12%. So we have a long way to go. So one thing the Keep Our Pact Act would do is put us on a path to fully fund.
You know how bad the federal government screws up funding for public education? It is amazing.
The other part of the Keep Our Pact Act is to fully fund Title I. Title I is an essential government program to try to achieve the goal of every child getting the very best education. And we have the authorized levels, and then we have the actual levels for Title I. And there are, as of this year, that's about a $35 billion shortfall. That is a lot of money that should be going to our kids' education that is going elsewhere. And we know where the elsewhere is in this administration. They do want to provide those very big tax cuts to people like Elon Musk and other billionaires. That is their ultimate goal. They're working on that right now. So they want to gut public education while they're giving tax cuts to very, very rich people and big corporations. And we've got to fight back. We got to fight back strongly. We got to say, hell no, we're not going that way. That is not what we should stand for in the United States of America. And so I'm proud to stand with all of you. And I apologize. I got to go into my caucus lunch with the Senate Democrats. And we need every single person fighting hard to get the word out about the damage that Donald Trump is doing to our education system. And we should make sure we vote down Linda McMahon. Thank you all very much. Thank you all. Great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Senator. Thank you for holding your colleagues accountable and being a fearless champion alongside our communities. Okay, our next speaker that we're going to hear from is from the National Education Association. We have Becky Pringle here with us today. Exactly. Give it up, give it up, give it up. Becky Pringle is president of the
Chaos,
National
my brother. How's
Education
you?
Association,
How you doing
NEA,
today?
the nation's largest labor union. Becky is a fierce social justice warrior, defender of educator rights. She is an unrelenting advocate for students. A middle school science teacher with 31 years of classroom experience,
31 years of indoctrinating kids.
Union members and then using that collective power to create racial and social justice. Under her leadership, the association's goal to ensure the systemic fair treatment of people of all races is clearly underway. And this is why Becky is a staunch advocate of students with disabilities, students who identify as LGBTQ+, immigrant students, and English language learners. Please give it up for Becky Pringle.
Hey. Just take a look at this backdrop behind me. This is what we're fighting for. Our students, our babies. This is why we're here. Good afternoon. I am Becky Pringle. I taught science for 31 years and I have the honor of being the president of the National Education Association. I am so proud to stand here with my union siblings from AFT and SEIU, with Popular Democracy and ARROS, standing up for our students in what is an unthinkable moment. And we've been talking about it as a moment, but it isn't. Dr. King described it accurately. This is a season of suffering, and we have to be ready to meet it. We have allies like Senator Van Hollen, a relentless voice, but we need more, and that's why we're here. As we mark the 50th anniversary of IDEA, we need unapologetic leadership in the fight for this nation to live up to its promises to our students with disabilities and those living in poverty. NEA members, our teachers and bus drivers and cafeteria employees, our nurses, our counselors, our educators in higher education all believe our students deserve an education that provides them with the support and the tools they need in schools that can inspire their curiosity and their imagination and desire to learn where justice and joy prevail. We are dedicated to our work and passionate about what we do. And one presidential election will not change that. Neither will this president's executive orders. Not the one calling for school vouchers instead of properly funding and strengthening our public schools. Not the one that will harm diversity, equity, and inclusion and access, including the four that target our transgender students and adults. Not his executive orders specifically designed to turn our immigrant friends and neighbors into prey. And not his executive orders that harm our environment and attack the government itself. None of this White House's administration's vicious and vengeful
She wanted
and
to say none of
villainous
this crack.
has the power to sway us from our vision and our values. The damage and the chaos that have managed to be created in just 2 weeks.
I'll just give it a sec, Phil.
And one day,
this becomes an even bigger clown show.
Standing together in solidarity and strength and beauty and brilliance, because we know the words of Dr. King still ring true today. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is the time for vigorous action. So we will use vigorous action to demand safe, welcoming schools for every student. We will continue to call for the resources necessary to create school environments that are steeped in excellence. We will continue to protect all of our students, Black, white, brown, indigenous, AAPI, our students with disabilities, our students who live in under-resourced communities, our LGBTQ plus students, all of our students. When I say every student,
does she have a few more categories to throw out there? Left-handed.
We will also continue to fight for and with lawmakers like the senator who join us here today to support our students and those people who have dedicated their lives to teaching and nurturing them. Our students must never pay the price for tax cuts to billionaires who funded this president's campaign. The billionaires who are positioned to take cabinet posts they are supremely unqualified for. We must never allow their power and money grab, their illegal, immoral, cruel attempts.
Sorry if I'm making too much noise in the background. Give me just a sec.
Away our rights and our dignity and our respect.
Trying to call my shrimp out.
Let us be clear. This battle is not just to stop the onslaught of the hate toward our communities and our allies, but to prevail even in the midst of darkness. to be that light of hope,
You know,
that
I might turn the
possibility.
camera on. We can do it.
On us to be worthy of
Lady,
them. We
they ain't
won't
your babies.
stop when we fight. When we fight. When we fight. Thank you.
Yeah, they ain't your babies, lady.
Woo! Becky and NEA are ready for vigorous action. Is that who else is ready for vigorous action? Yes. Thank you for those powerful
Colt, good
words
evening,
of
brother.
welcome, Dr. King, on this day. We appreciate you for being here, Becky, and standing alongside all of us here today. All right. Our next speaker is a young person representing Philadelphia. That's right. Pennsylvania.
Let me check in
We have
there now.
Stephen with us today. Stephen is a youth leader from Philly, speaking to the protection of immigrant youth. As son to immigrant youth, Stephen believes in a multiracial democracy where we can all thrive. As a member of Make the Road Pennsylvania's YPP, Stephen is passionate about
Well,
making a
Democrats are
meaningful
on the Senate
difference in
floor talking
people's
about
lives and
empty eggshells
advocating
like
for
they're not the
justice.
one
Please
causing it.
welcome Stephen to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen with Make the Road, Pennsylvania. Today, I stand before you as a public school graduate, uncle, a son of immigrants who is united with countless others to speak out against an urgent and growing threat to our immigrant youth. Right now, our immigrant students are facing a heartbreaking and terrifying reality. They are becoming the next targets of mass deportations and systemic injustice. The presence of ICE in our schools is not a hypothetical concern. It is a
You know,
living,
how many
immediate
schools
danger
has
that puts
ICE
the
hit so
futures of
far?
our children and families at risk.
I haven't seen
If
the
we remain
video of
silent,
ICE rolling
if
up
we
the
fail to
schools
demand
and
safety and sanctuary for
acting
students and
like
their
bus
families,
drivers, and then all of a sudden at
we
the end of
allow
the
the
day, they
fear
just
and
drive their
uncertainty
little
brought
happy
on
ass
by
to the
ICE's
border and let them
presence
go.
to invade our schools, turning places of learning into places of dread. This is not a matter of just immigration policy. It is a matter of human dignity. If our students are forced to attend school under the constant threat of deportation, their education will be tainted by anxiety and fear. School, which should be a sanctuary for growth and development, will become a battleground for survival. Our immigrant students deserve better. They deserve to learn in an environment where they can thrive, where they can focus in their future without the constant fear that they or their
Maybe that's a
families
good idea.
can be torn apart at any moment. Our schools are the foundation of our communities, the place where the next generation of leaders and citizens are shaped.
I'm all for
To
bringing
allow
buses
ICE
up
raids
there
to take place
protesting,
in our
load them up.
schools would be a betrayal of everything our democracy claims to stand for. This is not just an immigration issue, it is a community issue. It is about the stability, the safety, and the well being of us all. When immigrant youth live in fear, we all lose. We cannot let this injustice unfold without resistance. We must stand together, united to protect our children, our neighbors, and the values that promote a strong and equitable education for all. Now is the time for
A little
action.
more
The
equity.
clock is ticking, and the lives of countless young people hang in the balance. We cannot afford to remain passive. Our families, our communities, and our nation depend on us standing up for what is right. This is our moment to
These
make our
people
voices
talk
heard,
like
to
this.
ensure
I
that
mean,
every
it's right
child,
out of the
regardless of their
Communist
immigration status, can
Manifesto.
attend school in peace. Let us not wait any longer. Let's rise together as one to protect our immigrant youth, to protect the future of our country, and to demand the justice that every child in this nation deserves. Thank you.
Stephen. Yes, give it up for Stephen one more time. Yes. Thank you for reminding us that youth are truly the heart of this movement and the sharpened edge to like cut through the BS and really form a path for us. So thank you so much, Stephen, for those words. All
They're
right.
gonna mess around.
Next
They're gonna
up,
find
we
out a lot of
have
these kids
the
ain't falling for the
Secretary
horse shit.
Treasurer of the AFT. We have Frederick Ingram. He is serving 1.7 million members at the AFT, from teachers to paraprofessionals to higher education faculty. Ingram is the immediate past president of the Florida Education Association and was an AFT vice president. He's also He's also previously served as the president of the United Teachers of Dade, and it was the Teacher of the Year in 2006 out in Florida. Yes, 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 yes. Since becoming Secretary Treasurer of the AFT in 2020, Ingram has amplified the voices of AFT members nationwide, particularly on education, labor, and racial justice. So please give it up for Frederick.
Sassy, what's up, kid? Turn that screen right to see it while
When
I'm
our
getting
schools are
feeling
under
Trump.
attack, what do? Now, I'm an old high school band director. I talk loud and I'm deaf, so I need you, okay? When our schools are under attack, what do? When our schools are under attack, what do? Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're doing today. We are fighting back. We're fighting against bad policies. We're fighting against bad lawmakers. We're fighting against those who will fight our children, those who will fight those teachers, those bus drivers, those secretaries, people who give their lifeblood and soul to children every single day. In fact, 49 million children are in our public schools right now. My colleagues are delivering magic services. They're
I know, and I
delivering
hate it
the
that my
services
kids are
to the
two of
brain.
them.
They are the academic first responders every single day in our classrooms. They are
They watching the
doing
house
what
burn
they
down if
need to
they're
do.
the
They're
academic
doing it
first
despite
responders.
these bad policies. They're giving their lifeblood and soul to a community that needs it. They are giving it to underserved, giving it to our immigrant children, giving it to our Indigenous brothers and sisters, our Asian brothers and sisters. They're giving them the education of life that they need to be good stewards of society. And
Are
what
you
do we
shitting
have
me?
going on here
Dude,
in
most kids
the
coming out of school
nation's
can't do
capital?
basic
We have a
math these days, and
president
you're
who is a
saying they're
bully.
doing something serious?
We have a
You
president who is a bully.
really?
We will not teach this to our children. If we did this in schools, we would be fired. And so, what we are coming to you to
You
say
giving
is,
them life
Mr.
skills.
Trump, we need help in our schools. We don't need you to dismantle our schools. We don't need you to strike fear in our schools. We don't need you to take the money away from our schools. We need you to pour into our children, pour into those teachers who give their lifeblood and soul to these kids every single day. Mr. Trump, your policies are racist. Mr. Trump, I don't know if you're racist, but the racists think you're racist. So we have a
How is this
problem
possible,
in America,
you fucking
and we
know?
need your help. We need your help because children need your help. Grandchildren need your help.
These are people
Nieces
that
and
shouldn't be
nephews,
anywhere
the
near
kid
kids.
across the street
Anywhere near
deserves
kids.
the same opportunity as the kid in your house. And
Definitely
so
anywhere
we're
near
standing
education.
here because we're going to fight every single day. All of my colleagues from the NEA, from SEIU, from all of our groups that are gathered here today, we're standing before you to tell you that we're not going anywhere because we believe in what we do, because we believe in our future. Our future is always invested in our children. You have insulted our classrooms enough by trying to put someone who is a non-educator in front of education. I don't know Linda McMahon, but I do know WWE. And I know those are two completely different things when you talk about education. That's a real thing
Shit,
that is
unless you're
going
in a
in somebody's
classroom in
mind.
fucking
It is
Baltimore,
not
huh?
a predetermined outcome. What we have to do every day is hard work. We work hard with our children from band to math, from art to reading, from science to history, every single day. And we deserve the respect that we give our kids every day. And so we're here
You
in the
don't
nation's
respect your
capital
kids
to
very
bring
much,
truth
then,
to
do you?
power.
Because you ain't
All over
damn
America,
it.
we're going to stand up and fight back for our public schools because that's what we do at the AFT. That's what we do in this nation. Our kids deserve it. Our country deserves it. And in fact, this world deserves a fight back and a push to anything
Yeah, that's what
that
I'm
will
saying,
harm
Seth.
any kid in any school, anywhere. Let's get this right because 49 million of our children are depending on us to get it right. Thank you on behalf of the AFT.
Yes, yes. AFT is fired up and ready to fight back. Who's ready to fight back with AFT? Yes, yes. Thank
Yeah,
you
I
so
got
much,
about as much
Vaughn.
respect for them as I do the
Our next
ATF.
speaker is going to be representing SCIU. We have, thank you for the woo woo. Um, representing Local 500, we have Miss Henrietta Jenkins. Representing Local 500, she's a trustee of Montgomery County, a technical help desk specialist for over 33 years in the district. Miss Henrietta has worked tirelessly to support staff in her district. She is a mother, a grandmother, and a great grandmother. And she wants to talk about how she's been in this system this long and saw resources dwindle, and has now been watching her staff struggle.
Yeah,
So
we've
with
come from
that,
an education system
Ms.
where they could
Henrietta
teach
Jenkins.
math, reading, science, and basic life skills in a one-room building with a freaking
My
chalkboard.
name is Henrietta
And
Jenkins.
now these
With
people act like they
SEIU
can't teach
Local 500.
basic
I'm a trustee,
math
and I work for Montgomery County
with
Public Schools
supercomputers.
at the Technical Help Desk, where we support all MCPS employees. Our support starts here and it drills down to the classroom where we support the success of every student. We are understaffed, we're undervalued, and undersourced for the work that we are required to do. Technology for a lot is not friendly and has evolved to make sure everyone has to use it. With the lack of resources, it's frustrating and overwhelming at times, especially during mandatory training, with the security of student data as well as personal data being at the forefront more and more. It is urgent that we get to the resource that we get the resources and staff that are needed to secure our students' future. We have 10-month, 11-month, and 12-month employees, hourly and salaried employees. This is critical for our future. The resources and staff should be at the front of our minds. As a mother, a grandmother, and a
Results
great
should be at the
grandmother,
front of your mind,
I am
lady.
more concerned, frightened even, regarding the future of generations to come. How dare the government cut funding for education, taking resources needed and monies needed. I have worked in the district for over 33 years and have seen funding and resources dwindle. I stand in solidarity with school employees that are not afforded full-time status. They don't get paid during the summer months or at breaks, and I see the negativity impact them in their families. Our students, our students, our students, schools, and educators deserve the best. Our fight back is for quality, fully funded public schools for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Miss Henrietta. Thank you for calling out the urgency and the needs in school for school staff, educators, paraprofessionals.
How about you
And
stop
we
paying these
definitely have
damn
your back.
principals so much and pay your
Vaughn, can
teachers?
I use
How
that?
about that?
Absolutely. We
These
feel that you
teachers
have our back, and
and
together
the
we're going to make
principals that are
this work.
making
All right, our
$200,000 a year,
next speaker is
$100,000 a year.
representing the Alliance for Educational Justice, AEJ. We have Keno Walker, the new co-director for AEJ, who was raised in South Florida.
How
Keno's
about
firsthand
don't let
experience with the
students
school to
kick
prison
your
pipeline
teachers'
has
asses
profoundly shaped his work.
and have a little
Experiences
discipline in
growing
the
up with his family
classroom?
ignited Keno's passion for advocating against the presence of police in schools and communities. So, with that, I'd like y'all to give it up for Keno Walker.
Nope, can't do that. It's the prison to school, school to prison pipeline.
Hey everybody, my name is Keno Walker. I'm, as Vaughn said, one of the new directors of the Alliance for Educational Justice. Uh, Initially, we all know
Yeah,
that
they ain't got
school
a
is a
freaking clue,
cornerstone.
Cole.
It is a
Brother
it is a
Chris, what's
right
up? How you doing?
for our students. What we also know is that we have these forces that are pushing and fighting against what we need, what students need, and at the same time,
I
we
guarantee
have
you, a lot of them
students
educators and
all
shit
across
sitting
the
up there right
nation
now
that are
couldn't write
fighting
you a
to
solid
get what they
paragraph
want
without
every
having
day.
so many
And what
mistakes in
they're
it.
asking for
It
is
would
a
actually
supportive
fail
schools.
a regular English class.
Students that don't have to have fear, immigrant students that don't have to fear deportation. LGBTQ students not fearing discrimination. Black BIPOC students not have to worry about the school to prison pipeline.
I knew it
We
was
are
going to come
asking
up.
for resources. We're asking for resources. We are asking for resources. We are not we're not being pushed aside. We're not allowing to be pushed aside. These executive orders that are being pushed out are not going to be useful for us, not going to be useful for students, not going to be useful for our community. We know that students are a powerful force for change, and they have been throughout generations. Thinking about our movement, thinking about the work that we have done, Black, brown, LGBTQ, all young folks have been stepping up in these fights throughout generations, and they're going to
Yeah,
continue
they
to do
stepped up
so. We're
this
not
last one,
allowing it.
brother, and they
We are
ran
not
away
allowing
from
it.
Democrats for some strange reason.
We need to be shifting the harm
You guys
and the
lost your ass
narrative of the
when it
harm
came to
that black,
young kids. It was
brown
nice to
students
see.
are the problem. That is not the facts. The time to act is now, y'all. The time to act is now. OMG, OMG is Linda McMahon and her evil
Oh
diabolical plan to
God, look at
destroy
these
better
morons.
education.
Phil, this is around in your restream. Look at this. This is in your territory. This gets so dumb, Phil.
Teachers and staff, people all over the world, get ready because we are live and we've got something so spectacular, so wonderful that you don't want to blink for a minute. And it's all happening right here, right now. Woo! Get ready for the ultimate smackdown. Today is an epic battle that'll shape the entirety of the entire student for this country. In the left wing, get ready for the ultimate champions, the defenders of the youth. These aren't just any fighters. They're the ones that say no to the
Chessboard, what's up, brother?
public schools. Give it up for the education defenders.
Yes, this can get dumber, and it's about to.
And in the right wing, we have the privatization pusher and to teachers, unions, and students. The woman who will kill public ed, former WWE CEO, Linda McMahon. Boo! Get ready for the ultimate smackdown because it all happens right here, right now. Let's get ready to rumble! Round one, save and fully fund. Title one.
I'm telling you, these are not serious people. They're really
In the
not.
left corner, education defenders. And fight. And freeze.
Bayview High School from Milwaukee. We love public schools.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Junie Kim, and I'm a junior at Watkinsville High School located in Montgomery County, Maryland, and also the president of Young People for Progress. I am here to demand that Title I be adequately and fully funded. Title I funding is crucial, and I have seen its effect reflected in my school. Many feeder schools to our high school qualify for Title I funding and rely on those funds to ensure students receive equitable education. Specifically, in our feeder middle school, Title I funding is used not only for two focus teachers to improve literacy and math scores, especially for emerging multilingual learners, but it is also used to create a trusting school environment. Without these measures and this necessary funding, many students will be prone to drop out of school and continuing the cycle of poverty, as education is key to breaking that cycle. Our high school's graduation rate is one of the lowest in the county at 81%, signifying the need for Title I funding to create pathways to trade school, college, or stable employment. Moreover, Title I funding also decreases the school to prison pipeline, as the funding can be used for community strengthening activities. Community building and resources that encourage students to stay in school reduce the risk of students resorting to negative behaviors. We must continue Title I funding to ensure every student has the opportunity to succeed and contribute to society. Thank you.
I am Daryl Dorsey, a parent union leader with Step Up Louisiana. I'm also a member of Popular Democracy and Journey for Justice Alliance. I am a parent of an 11th grade student in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And for all his life, I have been an advocate for public schools and funding for public
These are
schools.
the people that will teach
Since
your
Hurricane
kids that
Katrina in
this is a
2005, I have
democracy
watched
we live
private
in, and these
organizations
founders were
condescend and take over
old, rich,
Darlene
white,
Paris's
slave-owning
schools.
men. And
I
so
live in
all the shit
East
that they
Baton Rouge
did doesn't
Parish, and
count.
now they're trying to do that to us. They're taking funds, the Title I funding that has funded plenty of meals for families, after school activities like the Big Buddy program, which my sister and I was a part of, and even Upward Bound program. There's a lot of wonderful programs that will be destroyed if they take away our Title One funding. So they're coming in recently, just January the
Let me
6th,
flip
in
over and
East
look at the
Baton Rouge
Senate real
Parish. We had a
fast and see
charter
what they're
school
doing.
who decided that they're
Nah, they're just
going to
running
close
their
their
mouths.
doors in May. That is going to leave about 300 kids and families to find a new school. They're taking the money and running because they're not providing adequate education for our kids. Education in this world and in the United States is a right, and we have to hold our leaders accountable for it. Thank you.
I got my shrimpies, Beal.
And the winners of round one, give it up for the education defender. Round two. Excuse me. Preserving civil rights protections for Black, brown, and trans youth. In the right corner, revoking federal funding that teaches the truth and supports trans and BIPOC youth. In the left, boo. In the left corner, excuse me, support of full funding for
How
school
has it
districts that
actually got to the
recognize
point?
gender and cultural expansiveness.
How?
And give it up for round the second. And freeze.
I mean, when you get down to absolute insanity
Hi, my name is Stephanie.
that our
and
kids
I'm
should
a
never
19-year-old
be
student,
exposed to.
and I am a queer ally with trans friends and neighbors. And I can't even begin to comprehend the struggle trans people face
I'm
in
a
their
queer
everyday life.
ally.
But we should
Damien,
come
what's up,
together as
brother?
a queer community and for the queer community for one another and take care of each other. So I come here and speak in their names. I'm from Detroit, Southwest Detroit specifically, who is built from immigrant power, and I'm joining my home organization 4A2 Forward, who work hard as students, parents, and teachers on protecting education rights. Trans people shouldn't fear. Trans children and students should not have to fear to go on in their everyday lives, to travel, to use a restroom, or to go to school safely. No matter how much you try to erase us and remove trans and queer people from your lives, we live, they live, and we will always live. Because trans lives matter, trans youth lives matter. Protect queer lives, and let's take care of each other in these hard times.
Oh, that is like Stockholm syndrome.
And round two goes to the education defender.
Uh-oh. Did the gray hair sneak in here? PLA, what's up, brother?
Round three, save and fully fund the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. In the right side, Trump's plans to dismantle IDEA. In the left corner, education defender Fari to save IDEA by preventing it from being changed. And to keep
Yeah, I'll try to behave a little bit. I ain't making no promises, gray hair. Not at this point.
Fari, go. Your testimony.
Jambo Bwana, I am Farid Gamina Tumpe with Spaces in Action DC. I want to thank my executive director, LaDon Love, and our whole team from Spaces in Action for supporting me.
Oh, I am going to black my shrimp before I put him in the jambalaya, too.
The reason why I stand. In 1997, President Bill Clinton enacted IDEA 97 because every youth in this country has the right to a FAPE, a free, appropriate public education. Over 7 million youth in this country rely on IDEA 97 and Title I funding. But IDEA 97 has never been fully funded since 1997. So how dare you propose a program that has never been fully funded? We still need funding for more dedicated aids for youth with disabilities. We still need funding for more psychological evaluations from early learning intervention. We still need funding for assistive technology. And at each transition in a youth life,
Dude, Chess, I have to pull that up and show that.
from
I
middle
have
school to high school and into the world, we need funding for transitional programs, for vocational training, because let's face it, every kid will not go to college. And we
Streamer's so
also
slimy,
need
it ain't
funding
even funny.
for OST, out of school programs, OSP, out of school programs. Because most children get to stay after school and participate in basketball, football, cheerleading, chess club, drama club, but our students, special education students, primarily depend on special education transportation, oftentimes not in their communities, oftentimes in another state. They don't have the opportunities for creative expression. They don't have the opportunities for the social and emotional learning competencies that come from participating in extracurricular activities. Let me hear you say shame.
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 But let's talk a little bit about DC. In Washington, D.C., we have a law called the South Capitol Street Memorial Act, which is legislation that governs school-based behavioral health in the nation's capital. This law is directly supporting the school to prison pipeline in DC because school-based behavioral health is primarily governed by the Metropolitan Police Department.
Yeah,
So I stand here today.
Bebe wasn't
for
out there at the
Jedi
club all
Guru,
night. She'd have time to
a
raise her own
7-year-old
kid.
that was put in handcuffs with autism because he could not keep his mask on the bus. I stand here for my
Who pushed the mask policy?
Aiden White,
Someone remind me. Who pushed
when
that?
was 10 years old, the bus broke down for 2 hours and he got anxious, was called and put in handcuffs by the Metropolitan Police Department at 10 years old. And I stand here for my granddaughter,
Oh, I bet,
Naisha
Chess.
White, who would love to participate in track or
Or
cheerleading
Colt.
in her school. And all 7 million children across this nation's country deserve the right to a free and appropriate public education.
With the left,
Let me hear you say care, not cops.
Care 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 not cops.
If you better win, you got to stand up and fight. When I say education, you say is a right. Education.
It's a right.
Education.
It's a right.
Education.
It's a right.
Education.
It's a right.
If you want to win, you better stand up and fight. When I say education, you say is a right. Education.
It's a right.
Education.
It's a right.
Education isn't a right. It's a public good.
Thank you.
And should be provided for, given people want to support it. But it's not a right.
And round 3 goes to the education defenders. And the final round. As we've heard before, the Trump administration is actively attacking immigrant youth. We have the power to overcome. Our final speaker. To the left, we have Mariah, our education defender. And to the right, we have Trump's plans to defund education. Boo! And fight. And freeze. Yes.
My name's Mariah, and I'm
With an
completely indoctrinated.
victory, the champions of all champions.
Fluffy!
Give it up for
Brother
the
man, how are you?
education defenders. We have the power to overcome. We want to thank everyone for coming to our presser and to our action today. Folks from Popular Democracy will be around should the press want to take any comments from us. And we want to thank you again. Be safe, y'all.
All right. That was a new slice of something. Oh, we got another good one for you. We got another good one. Where's that? This was from today. I got to find the one from yesterday when he's holding up a Corona beer and an avocado crying.
You're not here over there. I got to bring Hakeem more often. Okay, good afternoon. First, I'd like to announce that all 47 Democrats will vote against Russell Vogt. We're united in our agreement that Russell Vogt is a dangerous and destructive choice to lead the Office of Management and Budget. And we saw a precursor to his leadership last week during the dangerous federal funding freeze that crippled, or nearly crippled, critical duties of the federal government and its operation. As the chief architect, chief cook, and bottle washer of Project 2025,
just own it,
Russell Vogt, who is laser focused on undermining our government. He's proven it. Senate Democrats will unanimously oppose him and do everything we can to prevent him from leading OMB. And should Republicans not see the light and shoulder shrug this dangerous person into this seat, they'll have to answer to the American people. Russell Vogt wants to cast.
Well, Chet's tuning in some of his language a little bit since he got that letter the other day.
Republicans to do it, and as I said, he's a danger to the budget. He's a danger to what people in America need. Now, on the reason we are here. So over the past few days, and Hakeem and I work together really closely and well, and I welcome him to the Senate as he welcomes me to the House, I think. Yeah, okay. Over the past few days, Democrats have warned the American people that DOJ is operating like a shadow government.
Shadow government.
I said that DOJ is not a real government agency. It has no authority to make spending decisions, to shut down.
Those are the real government agencies, guys. Probably why it can work efficiently.
This is an indisputable fact. No authority for spending decisions, to shut down programs, or ignore federal law. Yet Elon Musk took issue with that warning. He said, in answer to a tweet that I said that did this, he said, DOJ, quote, is the one shot the American people have to defeat bureaucracy and restore democracy. Now, give me a break. Nothing screams democracy like having a secret squad of company men pull off a hostile takeover.
That says democracy like having an agency cover up a guy's doorbell camera and shoot him in the face in the morning.
The dead of
if you were
night.
cool with that.
That is not democracy, Mr. Musk. That's precise, and yet it's precisely what DOJ is doing. It's letting a small group of unelected people, secret, run rampant through the executive branch, accessing the private data millions of Americans need, and God knows what they're going to do with it. God knows. So there are two dangers. One, people's privacy is at stake. Second, that there's a risk that this small group could cut program after program using.
How can anybody dare question their government and their rulers?
Today, Leader Jeffries and I are joining together to push legislation to prevent unlawful meddling in the Treasury Department's payment systems and protect Americans across the country. Our bill aims to do a few simple things. One, to deny access to special government employees that don't have to disclose their conflicts of interest or any other ethic agreements. Two, to deny access to anyone with conflicts of interest or lack of appropriate clearance. And three, include personal tax information into existing privacy protections. We call our legislation Stop the Steal. Whatever Doge is doing, it's not democracy. We know what democracy's like. It's out in the open. It's not secret. You do two sides debate, and then the elected officials
Oh,
make
hear these people
decisions.
talk like this. Just as
Democracy doesn't skirt the rule of law, and it doesn't give special privilege to the ideas and needs of a group of ultra-wealthy people at the expense of American families. Of course, we should talk about reform. Reform's a worthy cause. Everyone agrees we should find ways to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of government. But you know what history shows? When it's done in the dark of night, it always leads to bad results. When these Doge people decide to cut a program, have they even talked to the people who run the program? Have they even done a little research? Have they heard the other side? Or are they just in such rush?
He came in the clutch, huh, brother?
So that they can keep tax
Oh, yeah.
breaks and give deeper tax breaks to the wealthiest of Americans? Undoubtedly not. They are not checking. They are not debating. They are not doing things in sunlight. So, we want reform. We'd like to cut waste, but do it in front of the American people.
Jess, you
Give the
remember when in
arguments,
Trump's
talk
first
the back and
term,
forth that has been the
Schumer
hallmark of
basically
this
told Trump
republic
one time that
for over 200 years.
you really don't
No,
have any
a
power. I'm
small
going to be
group
here when you're gone.
of select people who have little experience across the breadth of government have access to these records and an ability to cut funding. The American people have a right to be part of the debate as to what programs should be cut.
But that hit on
And just as a small
USAID
group of people think
is
they know
really
better,
messing with Democrats because that's
the
a lot of
American
their
people
bankroll.
doesn't make it true. So, we are going to do everything we can to sound the alarm and fight with everything we've got to stop this horrible, horrible act by this Doge group with the, of course, the permission, acquiescence, encouragement of Donald Trump. Leader Jeffries.
Thank you,
I
Leader
hate how
Schumer.
this guy
And
speaks.
before Leader
Jesus,
Schumer was
I
a
hate
man
it.
of the Senate, he was a man of the House. And so we always welcome
His
you back.
hand movements
to
and his
the people's
mannerisms
chamber.
are just
Democrats,
way out of sync.
Democrats are always ready, willing, and able to work with anyone.
Or there maybe it's
Find
just
the
too
common
many. He's trying to
ground
do too
necessary
much handsy
to
and it
solve
just doesn't
problems
work.
on behalf of hardworking
BB,
American
what's up, brother,
taxpayers,
man?
particularly as it relates to driving down the high cost of living. We understand
BB, you know who they
that
are.
America
They're
is too expensive. There are far too
freaking
many
Hakeem Jeffries,
hardworking
Chuck Schumer
American
speaking.
taxpayers struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. Housing costs are too high. Grocery costs are too high. Childcare costs are too high. Insurance costs are too high. Utility costs are too high. America is too expensive. Democrats are committed to driving down the high cost of living for working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans all across the land.
You ain't lying, B.
Our Republican colleagues are not serious about lowering the high cost of living. They've done nothing, introduced not a single bill, not put forth a single policy proposal. They've done nothing.
Hey, Chess, you know how it
as
is, man.
relates to lowering
Sometimes
the
you
high
just got to
cost of
go
living.
fast and hard.
At the same time, they are raiding the government, attempting to steal taxpayer money. That's what the situation at the Treasury Department is all about. We will introduce the Stop the Steal Act in short order to prevent unlawful access with respect to the Department of Treasury's payment system connected to people who are trying to steal personal, sensitive, and confidential information related to
Dude,
Social
they're not
Security
touching
recipients, Medicare
any
recipients,
citizen's
taxpayers,
private
businesses,
information.
not-for-profits, veterans, and everyday Americans. It's
But they can lie about it
unacceptable,
all day long.
unconscionable, and un-American. Stop the Steal Act will prevent this unlawful access from taking place. It's unfortunate that many of our Republican colleagues are determined to stand up a shadow government of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires that will stick it to the American people. That's what's driving much of the behavior on the other side of the
So
aisle.
again, how is
Because at the
stopping
end of the day,
taxpayer
my House
money from
Republican
being
colleagues are
wasted
determined
on
pass
a
massive
trans
tax cuts for their
whatever
billionaire
parade in
donors and
Nicaragua,
wealthy
Nicaragua
corporations,
or wherever
and
it
then
was,
stick working class
sticking
Americans
it to the
with the bill
taxpayer and stealing their
by
money.
doing things like ending Medicaid as we know it. We won't stand for it.
Still waiting to figure that one
We
out.
will push back against it. And because we're confident that the American people are on our side, we will stop it.
Questions on this subject? Yes.
Senator, Republicans have argued that this is not an effort to cut government quite yet, that this is just a review process, that they're looking at how the money is spent and that they're trying to come up with a
I
plan
feel you,
to
Jess.
make sure that it's spent correctly.
I
Is your
feel you
issue
on
with
that
the
one.
process here, or is your issue that Elon Musk is the one that's in charge of it?
Our issue is, of course, with the whole process, secret, behind closed doors. And you say they don't want to cut. Look, when we saw what they tried to freeze payments to just about everything, what they want to do. So our belief
Is
is
Chuck
there's a
just
real
mad
danger,
that we're not
terrible,
sending
terrible
millions of
danger,
dollars to
and
the
a looming
Taliban
danger
every week right
that they
now?
will
Is
not
that what it
only
is,
have
or Al
access
Qaeda?
to Americans' privacy,
Is he pissed his homies aren't
but
getting
that
the
they will
money?
use that to cut programs left and
But how
right.
specifically are you concerned about Musk himself?
We're concerned that Musk is in charge of Doge, but we're concerned about how the whole process works. And ultimately,
You are good,
the
Fluff.
buck falls with Donald Trump, the president. But we are concerned that a small number of people were concerned with the whole process, including Musk and including the others who were in it. Go ahead, Sandeep, you want to-
As Leader Schumer indicated, the problem lies with some individuals who have been put in charge of this raid on the government, including Elon Musk. But it also relates to the so-called special government employees who aren't required to adhere to the ethical laws and the disclosure requirements that were put in place by Congress in a bipartisan way for a reason, to make sure that people have the best interests of the American people at heart.
If
And
that was simply
clearly
the
is
case,
not
you'd
the
have been
case
drug
as
out
it
of there a
relates
long
to this
time ago.
unlawful access to the Treasury payment system.
When it's something so important as to who the government helps, it should be done in a way that adheres to our democratic principles: openness, debate, discussion, and reflecting a broad group of people who have inputs into it, not just a very limited few meeting in secret. Yes.
What other recourse do Democrats
The
have?
fact that statement can even fall out of his face with a straight face is just annoying.
Money that you have appropriated to be spent both in the federal freeze and in the international freeze.
We have 4 different ways of recourse. The first is just bringing this to light, making sure that the American people know what it is. We've had some success there already when we brought the freeze, freeze of
Oh, I know, Mama. Gabe, what's up, brother? How are you?
And Trump had to back off. When we brought up the
I
tariffs,
try to
the
tell
American
everybody, I
people,
got your
there
sense
was
of
an
humor,
outcry,
Mama. You
and
just got a
Trump had
whole
to
lot
back
more
off.
Jesus than me.
I believe there'll be even a greater outcry, or as much an outcry as this. The second thing we have is litigation. There are various groups that are already going to court to sue because they believe that this is against the law. And we are working with them in terms of giving them information, telling them what we know, helping make their court case as strong as
I'll get her to
possible.
slip up and say
The
something
third
every
is
once in a while, Fluff. Her
In
filter
in
falls
the
off.
Senate, we're going to have some shadow hearings which discuss what this is. And we're asking whistleblowers across Treasury and other places, we're talking to some of them already, to come forward. And the final is legislation. On the appointments, they don't need Democrats. But on legislation, particularly the funding resolution, they do need us. And we will insist that there be certain changes that undo these bad things. Go ahead, you take the next one.
What they're targeting now.
Sam Van Arky, brother, how are you?
Conservatives. And
Hopefully you're doing well.
Targeted, I guess, with the exception of the FBI in a sense. Do you think Republicans will ever bring a line in the sand? And if so, what might it be?
100%,
That's
Fluffy.
an open question. And in the House, where the Republicans have the smallest majority of any party since the Great Depression, when they're at full strength.
Hey, before I forget, all you guys post your channels in the chat too. That way, if you bounce them a little bit, your channel's there.
Republicans to 215 Democrats. That'll be the smallest majority since the 1800s. But even when they're at full strength, all we need
Yeah, Sam, I hear that. It's about the
three
same old same.
principled Republicans in the House, and a lot of the madness and extremism that has been unleashed on the American people can be halted, particularly as it relates to the upcoming spending agreement that we need to resolve
BV, I don't think Democrats have enough brains to tan their hides.
14th. All
I don't.
we need is 3 Republicans willing to draw a line in the sand.
I think that would
Now,
equal up to taking
extreme
a
MAGA
rabbit's
Republicans have made clear
brain
they want to end
and
Social
trying to
Security
tan a
as we know it,
white-tailed deer's hide.
in Medicare as we know it, and in Medicaid as we know it. Last week, with the unlawful Office of Management and Budget order, they made their first move on Medicaid. The public rose up in response, and they backed down in less than 40 hours. But we will never back down. And pointing out the types of things that the MAGA extremists and the far right are trying to do to hurt everyday Americans. The people that they claimed they were working hard.
Yeah, you guys not wasting some. Well, I mean, you're already wasting money, and you're never going to quit. But
this is something that
you
was in
being
Project
stopped from wasting some of
2025,
my
where
tax
Russell
dollars
Moore
is just
one of the
killing
chief
me.
architects. It's something that Doge had talked about, and the cuts will be deep. They can't do $2.5 trillion without cutting so many of the things. The vast majority of Americans, Democrat and
Yeah,
Republican,
well,
really
I don't know if everything goes through and they pull those files from Doge, there might be some accountability one day, but there sure ain't right now.
To request a meeting with the president and try to talk to him about your concerns about Elon Musk bypassing the Congress directly, and what your message to the president would be.
Well, our message to the president is it's going to hurt voters across the board, people who voted for him, people who voted against him, people who didn't vote. And look, whenever he's ready to talk to us, we're ready to talk to him.
When it comes to procedurally all of this, one, I wonder, I mean,
Yeah, they still got the filibuster for a lot of it, Gabe.
bureaucratic infrastructure, introducing a bill, the various other avenues you're pursuing, are they fast enough to keep up with what he's seemingly trying to do? And when it comes to this language that you're introducing, is this going to be part of the negotiations when it comes to avoiding a government shutdown, that you're going to try to force Republicans to include this, or what's the avenue there?
Congress has the power of the purse, and when Congress allocates funding in the best interest of the American people, the Constitution requires that that funding be spent by the president and the administration. The Constitution requires the president has a responsibility to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. Spending agreements passed through the appropriations process are law.
Well, I'd like to faithfully execute some
And when
things.
those laws are violated, the Constitution is being violated, which is why there has been a flurry of righteous litigation that has been unleashed, and that will continue. It's an all hands on deck effort. Leader Schumer made that clear. All hands on deck effort. There's a legislative component to it. We saw that in the House in late December when the incoming president demanded that we hand his administration a $4 or $5 trillion blank check by suspending the debt ceiling for 4 years? Really? That was rejected legislatively out of hand. The next day, the bill was defeated. There's a legislative component to it. There is a court component to it. The administration, through the president, issues an executive order to try to wipe out the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment. A few days later, in response to litigation that was immediately brought, a federal district court judge appointed by Ronald Reagan declared it unconstitutional. There's a judicial component to it. And there's also a component to it that relates to bringing along the public as it relates to pushing back. And we saw that last week with respect to the illegal funding freeze that was reversed in less than 40 hours. And we saw it as it relates to the wide-ranging, out-of-control tariff scheme applied to our North American allies that would have driven up costs for everyday Americans. And so we are working on this and pushing back on all fronts.
And just finally, the roots of democracy are still deep. And when the public is really outraged by things, there is a response, as Hakeem mentioned, I mentioned before as well, on tariffs, on funding freeze. We believe the public is so energized by what they have seen on this Treasury action that there will be a similar strong pushback, and the president will feel that pushback and hopefully respond to it. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. That was fun. Let's see. Let's check back with the Senate. There was something said about they might not even try to pull Pam Bondi's vote until like after 1 o'clock in the morning.
President Trump won this last election. I didn't vote for him.
Record. Okay, so I used to be a United States attorney, and we used to take FBI agents and we would put them into court to make cases. If an FBI agent working for me had gotten that kind of a response from a Rhode Island district judge, that he was incredible, that he was making testimony that was illogical,
Yeah, that would
that
be
he
the
could
exact
not
way
be
to do it,
believed,
Flo.
there would be repercussions.
Let's see. You
We'd
take
need to
everybody
see
else
if
to
that was
court.
a Giglio disclosure problem for this person. We would need to understand why this FBI agent couldn't be trusted by a federal judge. This isn't just an agent. This is the guy who wants to run the FBI. So to trust Pam Bondi to rein in a character like this,
No, he's talking about Cash.
has virtually no experience that would qualify him to lead the FBI, says former Attorney General Bill Barr, who has ideas that are ludicrous, absolutely unqualified for this job, untrustworthy, and
BB,
absolute
who's been calling you a
disgrace
liar?
to even consider him.
He was talking about the politicians.
A guy who ran onto his website, Cash Patel Retruth,
Yeah, red flag
imagery of
Bondi
him
for sure.
chainsawing his enemies list people. This is actually a video clip. We can't play it here, but it's a video clip of him chainsawing through his enemies list. And he thought that was cool to retruth. That's the kind of person we're dealing with. Pam Bondi's going to be able to restrain him? Not if she can't even say that Joe Biden won the 2020 election. This was his last comment. He said I'd misquoted him. To the press, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections like he didn't win it. We're going to come after you, whether it's criminally or civilly. We'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. That is what is coming to the Department of Justice. The FBI is in danger of being turned into the political enforcement weapon of this president, who is already breaking the law over and over again in just the last 2 weeks, and a woman who cannot say that Joe Biden won the 2020 election, I believe, is not going to be able to restrain this kind of misbehavior, let alone the kind of misbehavior we are seeing out of the Oval Office. So regretfully, because there was a lot to like about Ms. Bondi, regretfully, I cannot possibly vote to
She was
confirm her, and I
red
yield the
flag
floor.
laws. There was a lot to like. Matt, what's up, brother? How are you?
Mr. President.
Senator from Hawaii.
Mr. President, in examining all of the president's
not
cabinet
Nancy,
nominees, I am focused on two things.
Yeah.
Their fitness and their qualifications for the positions to which they are nominated, including their ability and willingness to put loyalty to the Constitution above loyalty to the president. This independence is critically important for the Attorney General, our nation's highest law enforcement officer. The Attorney General
Yeah, I think
oversees
Chris is going to have a stroke.
thousands of
Someone go get
career
him.
prosecutors in all 50 states, trying cases based not on politics, but on facts. However, Pam Bondi's record, her statements in her confirmation hearing, and her responses to questions for the record make clear she
You got to
does
get a
not
better stock
have
of
the
bricks,
requisite
Chess.
independence to lead the Department of Justice. In her confirmation hearing, Ms. Bondi shows she had trouble differentiating fact from fiction, where her loyalty to President Trump might come into question. Rather than attempting to assuage my concerns shared by many of my colleagues, you just heard from one of my colleagues just previous to myself.
I
Ms.
love
Bondi
I
failed
love
to
seeing
provide
Cash
clear
Patel and the
and
idea of him
convincing
running the
answers
FBI.
to
I
the
love
following
it. I love it.
questions. Whether President Biden won the 2020 election, whether she agreed with the president's characterization of January 6th
Maybe she's one of them coconuts that Kamala Harris was always talking about falling out of trees.
Whether she would make good on her promise to prosecute the prosecutors and investigate the investigators by using the DOJ to go after the president's perceived political enemies. I also asked her in writing, for the record, how she would resolve a conflict between a request from President Trump and her duty to the Constitution. Ms. Bondi provided no response, and she left the answer blank. This refusal to even try to answer the question told me a lot. We have already seen in the 2 weeks since President Trump took office that he does not believe that the rule of law applies to him. He issued an unconstitutional order on birthright citizenship. He put an illegal hold
I think that's
on
what this is where it looks like where this is going to land today.
He
Democrats are
fired or
going to
pushed
spend their day
aside
making stupid
scores
speeches.
of senior career FBI officials and federal prosecutors. Most egregiously, he issued a blanket pardon for more than 1,500 criminals convicted for their roles in the January 6th insurrection. Not content to stop at pardoning those who assaulted police officers, Now he's compiling lists of FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors who did their jobs by working on January 6 cases to which they were assigned. This could be thousands of civil servants who Donald Trump is apparently planning to punish to exact retribution. Make no mistake, by focusing DOJ and the FBI inward on themselves instead of outward on the many threats against our country, President Trump is making our nation less safe and sowing
We'll
fear
make it a little
and
more
chaos
fun. We'll hang
in the
wide, Coops.
DOJ. When we suffer an attack, a hack, or a rise in crime, President Trump will try to blame everybody else, but he will be responsible. As Senator Durbin so accurately put it, Donald Trump sees the DOJ as his personal law firm. But the DOJ and the Attorney General work for the people, not for the president. Any president, but especially this president, needs an attorney general who will tell him when his actions break the law. What's more, the American public deserves an attorney general who will put the law first and refuse an illegal order from the president. Ms. Bondi will not be that person. She will be yet another yes woman doing whatever the president wants her to do.
Well, she did this gender.
Suffer the consequences. For these reasons, I urge my colleagues to vote no. I yield back.
I wonder who they have next. They probably got a stack coming up.
Mr. President.
Senator from
Talking
California.
Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep.
Colleagues, I too rise today to oppose President Trump's nomination of Pamela Bondi to serve as Attorney General of the United States. And I don't do it lightly.
Read about
After
it.
evaluating her record, as well as her
2 hours
testimony
ago,
before the
there's
Judiciary
5,000
Committee, it's sadly become clear to me that Ms. Bondi
in
is
class
either
action
unwilling
suit.
or unable to
Huh.
put her duty to the
Yeah, I heard about that.
Constitution of the United States
Stack of muffin
and her
top. What's
duty
up, brother?
to the American people.
Hey, let me do this because I'm running around the kitchen and
President
cooking.
Trump.
It might be
With the president now in office, who has proven
more
his
fun to
complete
have someone else hanging
disregard
out
for the rule of law
too.
on numerous occasions, Pam Bondi is simply unfit to serve as our nation's chief law enforcement officer. Time and again, we've seen Ms. Bondi more than willing to go on national television and push President Trump's lies about the results of a free and fair election. Despite the facts, despite overwhelming evidence, she's chosen to lie to the American people in defense of Donald Trump. Now, as I shared in committee during the confirmation hearing, very issue, those statements that she made back in 2020, of her refusal isn't
You
just
say
that
she
she's
lied.
sticking to some political talking points.
Most of us know she
In
didn't.
fact, when it comes to the integrity of our elections, lies have become threats to our democracy, threats to voters, and threats to election workers who dedicate themselves to administering our free
Hang
and
that up
fair
there. And anybody's
elections.
welcome, guys.
To this day, she refuses to state the
We're
simple
just
truth
kind of
that Donald
hanging
Trump
and cooking.
lost in 2020. Colleagues, consider the fact that the same lies have led to her associate, Rudy Giuliani, being disbarred. Think about that contrast. Rudy Giuliani lied, and he's being disbarred for those actions. Pam Bondi, same lies, refuses to take them back. And now you want her to be the top law enforcement officer for the United States of America? It's this very behavior that actually endears her to President Trump, and the same reason why we cannot trust her to hold him accountable. If confirmed, Ms. Bondi will no doubt face far more daunting challenges.
Did he say no fact?
Shield the Department of Justice and its professionals. I mean, just look at President Trump's activity in the first couple of weeks in office. From his first day on the job, day one of his second term, he issued around 1,500 pardons for January 6th insurrectionists and commuted the sentences of 14 of his supporters, including those convicted of violence against police officers. Let me say it again. First day in office, Trump freed convicted violent criminals who pepper spray and beat Capitol police officers. So much for Back the Blue. President Trump's appointees then proceeded to fire career Department of Justice lawyers involved in investigating and prosecuting him for his role in the January 6th insurrection and for his improper handling of classified documents. Now, the acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia has already promised to investigate the prosecutors who helped put violent insurrectionists behind bars. None of this comes as a surprise, though. Before she was even selected, before the nomination was official, Ms. Bondi had already publicly promised to investigate the investigators, to prosecute the prosecutors. And just this past Sunday, President Trump's Department of Justice demanded specific FBI staff fill out a questionnaire sharing what involvement they had in the January 6th cases. This is a tough environment for any attorney general to walk into and to act independently,
whether they were Trump supporters.
let alone someone who's already shown blind loyalty to President Trump over the rule of law. But these past few weeks, I was struck most by the fact that despite her having practiced law for decades,
These are not serious
despite the fact that she
freaking
served
people.
once as the Attorney General for the state of Florida, Ms. Bondi was somehow unfamiliar with the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, and specifically its citizenship clause. Shouldn't have come as a surprise. We talked about it in my office the day before the hearing. I let her know I was going to be asking her about it during the hearing. And when I gave her an opportunity during the hearing to discuss it, she simply refused to answer my questions. And now we know why. In his very first day back in office, President Trump issued a blatantly unconstitutional executive
We all knew
order
there's
seeking
no
to
way they
strip
were going to get a fair
birthright
trial
citizenship from American citizens. Citizens born here in the United States. Now, someone who still needs to study birthright citizenship surely won't be a champion in defending it. And I point that out because that's what Ms. Bondi said in response to my question, that she would study it. Think about that, colleagues. Top law enforcement officer in the United States needing to study the Constitution?
All this from a dude that can't figure out what
American
the Second
people
Amendment
need
is.
and deserve to be able to trust that the Department of Justice is enacting the law fairly, neutrally, and free from political interference. We need and deserve an Attorney General who will speak truth to power, push back against illegal, immoral, and unethical requests. Someone who can be a credible messenger to the American people
Is that what
in a
Garland
time
did?
of
Did
crisis.
Garland push back
And someone
on
who will defend not only
illegal and
the American
unethical
people,
and all that shit?
but the proud public servants who work within the department and who are being purged in not a Saturday night massacre or a Monday massacre, but a
He needs to do a
January
lot of
massacre
studying.
by President Trump. To my colleagues today, I ask this: do you believe Ms. Bondi will fight against retribution or enact it? Do you believe she'll stand up to the administration's chaos or further enable it? Colleagues, I don't believe he's up to the task, and for that reason, to join. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Yeah. I wonder who they're going to run up next. I don't think Dick Durbin's been to the stage yet. Now, let's see. Oh, let's go. Oh. Let's read it. Oh, shit. GP3, what's up, brother, man? I got to step out of the room for a second. I'll still be listening, but I got to step out. Let's see who hits the stage next.
Mr. President. The Senator from California. Just over 8 years ago, Donald Trump assumed the office of the presidency for the first time. He began that administration with at least a few people of independence and stature.
Why this dude?
People that had enough of a respect for themselves and the rule of law, that when they were asked to do things that violated the law, their oath, or their own sense of decency, they said no or resigned. People like Defense Secretary Mattis, who wrote in his resignation letter, "My views on treating allies with respect and also being clear-eyed about both malign actors and strategic competitors are strongly held and informed by over 4 decades of immersion in these issues. We must do everything possible to advance an international order that is most conducive to our security, prosperity, and values, and we are strengthened in this effort by the solidarity of our alliances. Because you have the right to have a Secretary of Defense whose views are better aligned with yours on these and other subjects, I believe it is right for me to step down from my position. Treating allies with respect, being clear-eyed about malign actors, advancing an international order conducive to our national security, prosperity, and values. The solidarity of alliances, these didn't used to be novel ideas. They didn't used to be controversial ideas. What
Depends on who we
Secretary
were
Mattis
allied
said
with.
about an international order that is most conducive to our security, prosperity, and values may also be applied to a domestic order that is respectful of our agencies and institutions, our norms and values. Not everyone in Trump's first administration was like Secretary Mattis. Some took much longer to realize that the president's demand for loyalty to him be placed above all else was incompatible with their own oath of office. Attorney General Bill Barr, once so desperate for a job in the Trump administration that he wrote a lengthy job application castigating an investigation he knew little about, found ultimately that there were lines even he could not cross, like lying about the election. Others still, like Kash Patel, seemed never
I
to
guess
find
this
the
is
demand
just
by the
turning
president
into a
too
giant
taxing
Democrats
of their
trying
own moral code to raise an
to
objection,
filibuster
but rather viewed any
so they don't
questionable
have to
order
confirm.
as a means of advancement. The question we face with the nomination of Pam Bondi
Pencil
what
neck is
will
a
she
definite
do
ass
when
hat.
inevitably she is put to the test
Live
by a
life, my
president
brother.
who
How are
feels
you?
unbound by law or propriety? Her testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee tells us that she will not pass the test. When asked about whether the president lost the 2020 election, she could not answer. When asked whether she would preserve evidence gathered in the January 6th investigation, she could not agree to do so. When asked about potential pardons of violent criminals who attacked police on January 6th, she indignantly assured us that she would review all pardon cases on a case-by-case basis, a promise breached by the president so soon thereafter that her words seem still to hang in the air. If she could not assert her independence now, before Congress, before taking office, what hope can be that she will do so when put to the test by the president? When asked about this too, she demurred. That's a hypothetical, but it wasn't then and it isn't now. The president has already pardoned hundreds of violent criminals. He has already issued executive orders that violate the law and Constitution. Would Pam Bondi have objected to the firing of inspectors general? Do any of us believe that she would? The president has issued an executive order attempting to amend the Constitution. A federal judge struck down this order as presenting perhaps the simplest constitutional question he had ever heard. Could we have expected Pam Bondi to defend it? Sadly, yes. The president issued an executive order freezing and illegally impounding congressionally appropriated funding not. Dozens of top prosecutors
the president
have
can
already been
impound
fired from the
funding.
Department of Justice, who did their lawful duty investigating the rioters who attacked police. Would she have resigned in protest? She has witnessed this Saturday night massacre and still wants the job. So plainly, the answer is no. She is no Elliot Richardson. Top-ranking FBI agents have been fired. Questionnaires have gone out to identify the hundreds, perhaps thousands, of agents who were involved in the legitimate prosecution of these felons. Would she have defended these FBI agents at the risk of her own job, as one senior FBI leader has done? Of course not. And let us not pretend otherwise. Donald Trump only took the oath of office a mere 2 weeks ago, with an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, to faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States, to faithfully execute the laws of this country that Congress passed and funded. Each day, it seems he has found new ways to bend and break those laws, to put in power unelected billionaires and political cronies to dismantle agencies, take control of payment systems, and exact political retribution. And one after another, each of his nominees, asked whether they would oppose such conduct, has claimed that they won't engage in hypotheticals, claimed that there was simply no to do during the campaign, simply wouldn't happen. But it is happening. It has happened. His campaign of retribution is happening. His empowering of a shadow president is happening.
Dude, Schiff
His
is one, man.
dismantling
They got
congressionally
him
approved departments is
dead
happening.
on line
And we
his ass
cannot
off
afford
about
an
a
attorney
bunch of shit
general
when it came to
who
Trump,
believes their
Russia
oath to
investigation, all
defend
this other
him
horse shit.
rather than the American people and the democracy we have inherited from our
There's no
founders.
way he
This
shouldn't be in
big,
jail.
bold, brave, and improbable experiment in self-governance. We need an attorney general with a backbone of steel, with a stature to say no, whose purpose is to enforce the laws against any lawbreaker, including the President of the United States. That person is walked these halls and served in this body, reminded us nearly 200 years ago that we have built no temple but the Capitol, that we consult no common oracle but the Constitution. And what does that oracle tell us?
That oracle tells us the government's 30,000 times
simply
bigger than it
this:
should be. All of our money's getting
we
stolen,
have been
and you
given
guys
the
don't give a
most
shit
brilliant
about it.
Constitution ever devised to constrain the worst impulses of human nature. But even that brilliant document will not protect us if we do not inhabit positions of great responsibility with people worthy of them, with people who view our system of checks and balances not as a weakness to overcome or to overrun, but as a source of strength, who view the domestic order they produce, to borrow Secretary
Professional
Mattis's
victims,
words
damn right.
from a different context, as most conducive to our security, prosperity, and values. We need an attorney general who will stand strong when the president seeks to turn this Capitol into a rubber stamp for unconstitutional and unlawful actions.
This guy is a fucking
When the president
cancer,
seeks to
is what he is.
empower the likes of Elon Musk to ignore laws that Congress has passed and departments that Congress has funded. When the president ignores our allies and emboldens our enemies. When the president targets those in government who did their job to investigate crimes and malfeasance and does so to exact
They'll ignore the Constitution.
vengeance.
They think it gives them some little thing
Vengeance,
where they can
apart
abuse.
from self-aggrandizement and
And then they're all about
self-enrichment, the president's only motivation, vengeance.
You.
Donald Trump is hoping that in the chaos of his executive orders, of oligarchs marauding through the agencies of government, of tariffs that turn on and off like a blinking light, that we will get lost. And in getting lost, be lost. We must not be. His actions will get worse. They will. With a congressional majority that empowers him, with appointees that embolden him, he himself will only grow more emboldened in return. His unconscionable and unconstitutional actions will multiply. And when that happens, will Pam Bondi take up her role, her duty as the people's lawyer? Or will she serve as the president's lawyer, as she has done before? Will Pam Bondi say no to the president's unlawful actions? No to purges of perceived political enemies? No to investigations of career officials? Because if she will not say no, if she cannot say no, it is up to us today to say no. No to this nomination. No to Pam Bondi. It is up to us. I yield back.
Okay. Let's see who they bring up next. They're warming up in the bullpen, looking through their notes real fast.
Senator from Connecticut.
As my colleague, Senator Schiff of California, has just so powerfully stated, we are in the midst of a constitutional crisis. A crisis that would have been unimaginable just weeks ago.
Yeah, fired for being
crisis that
too
involves a
conservative.
president
There's a lot of that going on.
disobeying the law. Now, presidents in the past have disobeyed the law.
All right, I guess we're back. But I'll guarantee you I'm going to have to reshare this. Well, yeah, brother, there's one thing about me. I can cook. Had it. Well, hold on, because that
enthusiastic
Ah,
about
unfortunately, we're
the
back.
case and wants to indict someone who could not be convicted. A public official who is close personally or politically and has overstepped their powers, or
Chef, we are doing black and shrimp,
fair,
just some regular Zatarans, jambalaya,
be
and some
completely
old mac
impartial,
and cheese.
and to uphold
Down
the
and dirty
law
for the kiddo.
is the first duty of anyone in the United States Department of Justice. And I have more than respect. I have reverence for the Department of Justice. And that's why I am so deeply disappointed that we are here tonight for the nomination of Pam Bondi. The Attorney General of the United States of America is supposed to be the people's lawyer, not the president's. Donald Trump has
So you're telling me
said he
Garland
wants
was the
the
people's
Attorney
lawyer?
General to be his Roy Cohn, his fixer,
Okay. What fucking people?
personal attorney. Well, Ms. Bondi said she would be the people's lawyer, but
Dude, I wish I
that
could cook like
claim
Justin
is
Wilson.
betrayed by almost
Whew.
everything else she said, and most importantly, what she would
I used to
not
love
say.
watching that guy, man. He was
Here's what she
hilarious.
would not say. She would not say that she would say no to the president when he asked her to do something illegal or immoral. She dodged that question. She would not say that she was wrong for spreading lies about fraud and cheating in Pennsylvania during the 2020 election. She dodged that question too. She would not say that President Biden won the 2020 election or that President Trump lost. She ducked it. Now, the issue of whether President Trump asks his attorney general to do something illegal or immoral is not a hypothetical. It's not abstruse or abstract. It is real. We know it's real because every one of his past attorneys general ran afoul of Donald Trump because they would not do something illegal or immoral. Our colleague Jeff Sessions, Bill Barr,
He's good, Chess.
no matter how good their intention, nobody can talk Donald Trump out of what he wants to do, and the law is
You
no
guys have all heard me
concern,
motherfuck these people.
nor is the lawyer. He will get lawyers to do whatever he wants.
And it is
Pam Bondi
certainly not out of character for me to
reassuring.
motherfuck these people. So
very reassuring to one person, Donald Trump, when she dodged those questions. Because what he wants is a loyalist, a sycophant, an alcoholic. And he wants a puppet to do his bidding.
the more scared they get that
American
their
people need a
power and their
At
authority
this
is
moment in
threatened,
history,
the
at this point
whinier
of
they
the
get,
constitutional crisis, who will
and the
truly
louder they get.
speak truth to power. We use that phrase all the time. Speak truth to power. But in this instance, it is the essence of what an attorney general has to do at this moment in our history. And Donald Trump doesn't want to hear the truth. As much power as he has, he wants to hear an attorney general tell him, fine to go ahead, you have the green light. If Pam Bondi thinks that she won't face that same dilemma that Bill Barr and Jeff Sessions did, and every other lawyer who's worked for Donald Trump has faced, she's either delusional or disingenuous. Delusional or disingenuous, for me, both are disqualifying for this job. And she can't even pay or pass that low bar of saying she could say
Maybe
no.
that's what it
Her
was. She didn't
answer
pay him,
is,
so he
oh, well,
ain't
he
vote.
would never do anything like that. He is my friend. As we are here tonight, the Trump Justice Department is reported to be preparing to purge hundreds or even thousands of FBI agents or other personnel in the Department of Justice for nothing more than doing their jobs. These agents were assigned to criminal cases involving Donald Trump. They didn't leap forward. They didn't volunteer. They were assigned, and like FBI agents do,
Oh, don't worry. They'll probably make millions off of getting fired
they
like
will
Page
pay
and
the
Truck
price
did.
in their careers unjustly, unfairly, and unwisely, because it will deter other FBI agents from doing their job when it comes to drug cases or terrorism cases. We've heard also that assistant U.S. attorneys are being reassigned from drug cases and terrorism cases so that they can do immigration. We're hearing that career civil
You wonder why?
servants
Because all the terrorists are here and we're
must
trying
be
to go
loyal
find them, you
to Donald
douchebag.
Trump in this Department of Justice. Well, to Donald Trump and to them, we all know something fundamental in this body, that we swear an oath. The lowliest
shit on every
private
day.
in the United States Army or the Navy or the Marine Corps or the Air Force takes an oath. They raise their right hand, just as we do. Anybody in the cabinet takes that oath and they swear allegiance, but it isn't to the president, and it isn't to the government. It is to the Constitution.
Well, then all you sons of bitches need to just get out of there or get put in prison
Pam
for
Bondi cannot do
not
in good
obeying your
conscience
oath, you
if she is
piece of
confirmed,
shit.
because her allegiance will be to Donald Trump. And
Yeah, I
his
know, G, I
reassignment
know,
and
I know.
retribution of others not only
She'll
damages
forgive me
morale,
later.
the effectiveness of the Department of Justice, it undermines the rule of law. The Attorney General, perhaps
This is what it is. I need her like an
presidential
assistant with a
appointees, is
bleep button.
responsible for
So when I
making
start going
good
off, she can
on
just
the
bleep.
constitutional promises that no
Some
man
shows every
no woman
other word would be a
is
bleep.
above the law, that we have no king in the United States. We are no longer a monarchy. We can no longer
You guys thought we
ask
had a king the last
billionaire
4 years, and he didn't
to
have no
rummage
clothes.
through the files of the Department of Treasury that have information about
I don't know. It was
presiding
brains
officer
that he was missing, and all you guys
every
said
one
that
of
he
us who
had.
serves in this
That's what it
body,
was.
and almost every American, because we all pay taxes, we all have Social Security, we get tax refunds, veterans get disability benefits. Almost anything
Really good
the
at
United
reading
States
lips. Yeah,
government
that's
does
got me in trouble before too.
creates a record in the Treasury Department, and all that information is being read and scanned and now collected. That's the news of the day. More bad news about Elon Musk. Who is going to stop Elon Musk when he's doing something illegal and immoral? It won't be Pam Bondi, because she's Donald
Ultimately,
Trump
is
for
he
it.
just pissed that someone besides the
That
government
is
is
a
actually doing something
real
with your
and
data?
present danger for every one of us in this country. After I was United States Attorney in Connecticut, I was the Attorney General of my state for 20 years. In that job, also, I took an oath to the Constitution of the United States as a state official, as well as to the Constitution of the state of Connecticut. It isn't an abstract notion. It's what we all do. And if she's confirmed, maybe Pam Bondi will be able to raise her right hand and recite after whoever's administering the oath. But it will not be an oath she is capable of keeping. And so, on this
That is so impossibly
critically
rich.
important vote for our country, I don't think there is a
Rich coming from Democrats.
cabinet officer
I'm not
more
keeping their
important
oath.
at this moment in our history. I urge my colleagues to say no
That is impossibly rich.
Mr. President, I yield the floor.
All right, who they got on deck now? Or are they're gonna give us a break? Maybe they're gonna go out and have a few drinks before they come back. Maybe roll a blunt. I do not trust Bonnie. I've said it before. A lot of you guys have said it. I do not trust her. I don't. She might be real good on a lot of other things, but I don't think she's any good on guns at all. Crumpy's hammering out videos. Did he release another one, G?
The Democratic whip.
Suggest the absence of a quorum.
Oh, here's Dick.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsterbrooks.
Are they what are they calling the roll? Are they trying to get a quorum together? $6:49. See what they do. Due process is damn sure important. I mean, the major thing is for red flag law. You think someone is a danger to themselves or others, you can have that person voluntarily committed to a freaking mental institution to have them actually evaluated. And then you put them somewhere where they don't have all kinds of other shit they can use. Just released another 30 seconds ago. That's got to be that video that he kind of gave a hint about earlier. He said he was going to be dropping something else big tonight. I'm running on the StreamYard side right now, so I didn't see it come over, or didn't see a notification for it. But no, Sam, they don't give any. They don't care about Constitution. They don't care about rights, due process, and I mean, they're completely fine with the ATF kicking your door in for no reason and shooting you in the face. I mean, completely fine with it. So someone's coming down the driveway.
Mr. President, yesterday, Elon Musk took issues to my warning that Doge is operating in many ways like a shadow government. Here's what I said. I said, quote, Doge is not a real government agency. Quote, Doge has no authority to make spending decisions. Quote, Doge has no authority to shut programs down or ignore federal law. Doge's conduct, I said, cannot be allowed to stand. Congress must take action to restore the rule of law. His response, here's what Musk said. Quote, hysterical reactions like this is how you know.
I'm gonna shut the screen down for a minute, see if I gotta go
and that quote, this is the one shot American people
help a
have
cracker
to
out.
defeat bureaucracy and restore democracy. Give me a break. Nothing screams democracy like having a secret squad of company men pull off a hostile takeover of America's Social Security and tax information in the dead of night. That's democracy? No openness, no hearings, no discussion, no hearing the other side. from a small group of limited people who have limited backgrounds, who probably don't even know about the programs they're cutting and how they actually work. Whatever DOJ is doing, it is certainly not what democracy looks like or has ever looked like in the grand history of this country. Because democracy does not work in the shadows. Democracy does not skirt the rule of law.
Neighbor might have just popped a yoke chasing his
Democracy does
goat.
not shun accountability and restraint, does not run away from transparency, but welcomes it, and does not give privilege to the needs and even the ideas of a small group of ultra-wealthy people at the expense of working people. They're the only people who seem to be in the room to make the decisions. Working class Americans are excluded. Now, reform is a worthy cause to seek, no question about it. Everyone agrees, and everyone should agree, that we should find ways to improve the effectiveness. We should find ways to improve the efficiency of government. But you know what history shows? When it's done in the dark of night by a very limited group of people of limited experience, it never works. When ideas are not brought into conflict, when people have different views, when there's not debate, when there's not openness, when there's not transparency.
Yeah, hell, it's a good thing they're replaying this. I was going to show that
It
to
leads to
you
very
guys
bad
too. So
results, and yet that's just what DOJ is doing. They know
you guys
better
haven't
than
seen his
everybody else.
floor speech from today.
Certainly, they're entitled to have their viewpoint. Certainly. But to just do things in the dark of night, to just fire people without even talking to them, what they do, what their needs are, makes no sense. And again, is going to lead to bad results. We should talk about reform, but we should talk about it the way it's always been done in America, in the halls of Congress, in the public forums of the people's government. That's what the Founding Fathers wanted. If the Founding Fathers were to be like DOJ, a small group of them would get together and just
Back rooms all the
dictate
time, make
what
deals,
should have
and
been
rape
done
the
in
shit out of the
America. They
American
didn't. They
people.
set up
Don't even start
Congress.
that shit, Chuggy.
They set up debate. And the American people, mark my words, the American people will not stand for an unelected, secret group to run rampant through the executive branch. Being innovative is good. But Mr. Musk, this isn't a tech startup. These are public institutions that deal with things like Social Security and Medicare and national defense and provide for the well-being of the American people. And the American people have a right to be part of that debate. Part of that debate.
You know what, buddy? We were part of that
Elections
debate
occur.
right at election time.
One viewpoint got a few more votes than the other, but that doesn't mean we throw out democracy. That doesn't mean what's been done for centuries in this country should just go out the window and be substituted by a small group of people who think they know a lot more than the wisdom of the American people. So that is why this week, Leader Jeffries and I will join together to push legislation to prevent unlawful meddling.
Yeah,
in
he's
the
got
Treasury
the
Department's payment
Stop the
system.
Steal Act coming out with him and Jeffries.
Everyone's records from being made available to a small group of people who can look at them at will, when this has always been kept secret and always been protected, your tax returns and your payment systems and things like that. And it affects average Americans. And who knows, maybe next they'll say, let's slash all of this stuff. That's what they seem to want to do in their $2.5 trillion desire to cut government. We must protect people's Social Security payments, their Medicare payments, their tax refunds from any possible tampering by DOJ or any other unauthorized
Yeah, he did, BB.
entity. And that's why Leader Jeffries and I will join together to push
I'm telling you, these people are amazing. They can say this shit dead in your face. Smile on their face, straight faced. amazing that they can lie that well, but they damn sure can. And it doesn't even fade. They can look you straight in the face, tell you, yeah, this is, we're looking out for you, and then do everything in the world to screw you over, to put you in prison, or to kill you, and then be like, yeah, well, you know. It was for a good reason. There was a good cause. This is what this people wanted. Oh, I wonder who they're going to bring up. Dick was asking for a quorum call. They were asking if they were in a quorum. I don't know. So let's see. I'm almost done with all that. All the cookies is in. So yeah, Mom, I decided to blacken the shrimp. I did the jambalaya with just onions and that Cajun smoked sausage in it, and I'm just going to put my blackened shrimp on top of the jambalaya, and then we'll see what else we want to do. Matter of fact, I'll pull off my Michael Jackson assault glove here to keep my. It sounds good. Yeah, it is. Gonna be. Tis gonna be. In fact, I might, while that rice is actually cooling down, I might just dump that whole thing of shrimp right on top of that rice and just let it kind of. You know what? That's what I'm gonna do. We're eating the shrimp. with that. I held in there and washed my bowl. Now I'm done with that. All right. DJ, my brother, take it easy. We'll see you after a while, man. Have a good evening.
Here to amplify my support that I was able to give in the Judiciary Committee of Pam Bondi, who will hopefully in a few short hours here be confirmed as the next Attorney General of the United States of America. I want to thank, before I do that, the leadership and the hard work of Leader Thune and Senate Majority Whip Barrasso in this entire confirmation process.
What is up, my brother?
Looking at a clip
How
that
are
I
you
think
tonight?
is responsible and one that honors the mandate that President Trump got to shake things up here in Washington, D.C. I think what you saw in November was a dynamic where people weren't particularly happy with what was going on in this town. And they voted for reform.
Hey, Monksky.
And President Trump is putting together a
What's
team
up with you?
of reformers. And there look no further than an ideal place for that reform than the Department of Justice. But before I get there, I do want to point out on a personal note that when President Trump
I don't know what you're talking about, baby.
announced that he was supporting Pam Bondi, I think I'd said to somebody, this was a home run. And as many of us in this chamber are often outdone by Senator Graham, he described it as a grand slam, touchdown, hole-in-one, ace, hat
Come
trick,
here. Have
slam
your
dunk,
jacket or
dunk,
pick your jacket up.
Olympic gold medal pick.
Pick your
And he
jacket
was
up.
right. I've known Pam Bondi for
Bless you.
years from AG World. That was my job before I had this job. I was the Attorney General in Missouri. And Pam was always known as a leader and somebody that has this really rare combination of a steel backbone
Shoes on the floor.
and a heart of gold. She's in it for the right reasons. She cares about the rule of law. She started her career from humble beginnings in a small town in Florida.
You got it? You look like you got you some new kicks from Gray Nano.
Testimony in the Judiciary Committee that was her goal,
Come here.
was to be a prosecutor.
Here.
She spent hours and years in those courtrooms prosecuting the bad guys. And she later became the Attorney General of one of our bigger states. And as I mentioned, she was a leader. She defended the Constitution. She took on the opioid epidemic. She was relentless in taking on human trafficking. And somebody I think that everybody can look up to, not just from a personal perspective and her personal story, but also the way that she took on her job and had accolades from both sides of the aisle. There was actually somebody in the Senate committee who was on the other side of the aisle in Florida that ran for Attorney General at the same time Pam Bondi was running for Attorney General and testified to her character. There's just no question that she's supremely qualified for this job. And we're really going to need somebody as the Attorney General to lead the Department of Justice who has that kind of integrity, who believes in the Constitution, believes in individual rights, and getting that department back to where it always should have been, which is fighting crime. Sadly, over the last 4 years, we have seen a Department of Justice gone astray. One that has made headlines, of course, for going after parents who showed up to school board meetings under the auspices of the Patriot Act, treating moms and dads as terrorists.
Do this while my wife kicks stray cats out of the house.
Open forum meeting and had concerns about things like critical race theory or forced masking. The full weight of the federal government honed in on parents and Catholics who were treated the same way.
Most of that done. I'll tell you what.
Traditional Catholics, literally
We
setting up
are going to
informant
change
networks
positions.
in an effort to spy on them because of their religious affiliation. I'm not talking about the Soviet Union of the 1980s. I'm talking about the United States of America in 2021. What Merrick Garland did to this agency in the Department of Justice is a tragedy. Kash Patel hopefully will move out of the Judiciary Committee here soon and be the next leader of the FBI and restore integrity to that agency as well. But of course, the Department of Justice that Pam Bondi
People think that
hopefully
was
in
somehow
a few short
a
hours will be
freak.
confirmed and then sworn in to lead will restore integrity. In addition to going after Catholics, in addition to going after families who show up to school board meetings, the very coordinated effort of lawfare by the past administration to take out their chief political rival under the moniker of show me the man and I'll show you the crime can't be dismissed. They're not going to want to talk about that. But the effort to financially ruin President Trump, to literally throw him in jail for the rest of his life, deserves the scorn of the history books. Joe Biden gave a speech in the fall of 2022 calling half of America a threat to democracy, that President Trump would never make it back to the Oval Office, and guess what happened? A series of zombie cases with at best novel legal theories were resurrected. In New York, the number 3 person at DOJ left the Department of Justice to join the DA's office in New York. Why would that person want to do that? Well, guess what? President Trump was prosecuted in a Manhattan courtroom not long after that. In state cases, the number 2 person in the DA's office in Atlanta was coordinating with the White House counsel's office on the prosecution of President Trump in Georgia. And then Jack Smith was brought in, who was notorious among legal circles for overzealous and over prosecutions, overcharging, was brought in specifically to take out President Trump. And it was only the Supreme Court ultimately that prevented that.
Somebody's killing me.
But this was all a scheme devised by the Biden administration to make sure President Trump never got back into office. Well, guess what? He stared it all down.
What's B having fun about?
And we have a real opportunity now to have a level set. I don't think it's right that we have people
Look like
pursued
John
because
side by
of their
side, pulled up
politics from
almost
a criminal perspective.
just up the hill from our driveway on
Nothing
the
was
main
out of
road and shot
bounds
at
in the
something a
last
couple
4
minutes
years
ago.
by the Biden administration and Merrick Garland. So Pam Bondi is just the kind of person to come in, to restore integrity, to make sure that our Department of Justice
We're bad. You're black. I'm
is
Mac.
fighting on behalf of the American people and not an attempt, ironically, to undermine our republic, the accusation, the
All right,
very
good deal,
accusation that was leveled at Joe Biden's political opponent.
Carton Fink,
With
what's
that,
up,
Mr.
brother?
President, I look forward to voting yes on Pam Bondi and having a real leader, to somebody that we can look up to.
Yeah, dude, I got to go back and watch that later. I wanted to watch it live, but I wanted to see just how bad these leftists are going to cry over Pam Bondi, so I kind of hung with this today. So I got to go back and watch Buddy from Attorneys on Retainer. Now here's the thing: knowing that Right to Bear is actually a attorney on retainer, or is actually having an attorney on retainer right now. They're the guys I would go with hands down. USCCA and some others get away with dropping people because they say you can't insure a felony, or can insure a crime, and if there's any chance of it being a crime, they will drop you. What's good?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Here's a pencil. You even got an eraser. When you're done with this pencil, you bring this pencil back to me. This is your pencil. There are many like it, but this one is yours.
Okay.
So you have to give it back to me, right?
Okay.
Right. No, she doesn't get the reference from Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, I know attorneys on retainers, an attorney is on retainer also. But the reason I say that is right to bear sounds like their attorneys are more pro Second Amendment than the guy from attorney on retainer. And I'm not saying he'd do a bad job. You know, he'd probably defend you till the cows come home.
The majority leader,
I ask unanimous
But
consent.
he's
the
certainly
quorum
not as pro
call be
2A as
suspended.
I would like my lawyer.
without objection.
If
Mr.
I ever
President, I
need
now
another
hold
lawyer, I
debate on the
probably won't
bond
get a pro
nomination.
2A lawyer.
Is there further debate? If not, the question is on the nomination.
Mr. President, I ask for the yeas and nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks, Mr. Barrasso, Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Blackburn.
It's going to be
Mr.
interesting to
Blumenthal,
see
Ms. Blunt Rochester, Mr.
what they
Booker,
try to do
Mr.
here.
Bozeman, Mrs. Britt, Mr. Budd, Ms. Cantwell,
Because
Mrs. Capito, Mr. Cassidy.
They could try to pull some other
Ms.
wrangling
Collins,
here.
Mr. Coons, Mr. Cornyn,
But
Ms.
if they have a
Cortez Masto,
quorum,
Mr.
which it doesn't look
Cotton,
like they have a quorum on
Mr.
the floor,
Kramer,
then they could go to a vote.
Mr. Crapo,
And
Mr.
I'm just
Cruz,
here to watch the
Mr.
show.
Curtis.
Lawfully, you'd be more than welcome to come in too, brother. At this point, we're just hanging out watching the shit show right now, and I'm going to finish doing a little bit of food. I know, Live Life. I'm trying like hell not to really
Mr. Daines.
inhale these. Because I am still trying to quit. But
Thank you, Chairman Grassley, Ranking
try
Member
not to inhale
Durbin,
these.
and members of
Still
the
do.
Senate Judiciary Committee. I've had the
Weak
opportunity
man.
to meet with almost all of you, and I greatly appreciate that.
Cool deal, Law.
I'm grateful to President Trump.
Yeah, which anytime it's
and
up, brother,
to
you're
this
more than welcome to
committee
step
for
in.
your
Anybody is.
consideration to be the 87th Attorney General of the United States.
So I will be interested to
not
see
be
what
here
kind of
without my
legal
family.
wrangling they try
And if you can
in the
bear
next
with
little
me
bit.
for just a moment, a lot of them have made a very long trip, and I wrote them
And
all
I sure the
down so I
hell
don't
probably
forget
am not
anyone.
staying up. I shouldn't
My
say that. I probably
beautiful
would.
mother, who I wouldn't be here, a retired
But-
kindergarten teacher, would not be here without
Oh,
my
we'll
mom.
see.
As of a week ago, it was 12 years since we lost my dad to leukemia. Feels like 12 days.
I'm down from
my
like
amazing
3 packs a
husband,
day to
John,
about 2 packs of
and
these.
his two incredible girls, Collins and Finley.
And dip.
Collins is a senior at University of Florida, and I think all of you on this committee will be very happy to know
So far, that's the
Finley is in
hardest thing for me.
cybersecurity.
Is keeping
There's a
that
third who's
habit of
traveling
lighting
abroad. I wish he
and
could be here.
drawing.
My amazing father-in-law, David,
That is
my
the
sister,
hardest habit.
Beth. My brother-in-law is home with my niece. My nephews, if you could just raise your hand, Evan, Jake, and soon-to-be niece Savannah,
Yeah, well, you can smoke a cigar and never inhale. Now I do inhale some of these. I do.
a brilliant lawyer. My sister-in-law, Tandy, and my nephews,
But
Justin,
if you've been
who
off
just got a
smokes for a
4.0
while
UVA.
and you hit a cigar every once in a
Rex,
while,
great
hey,
college
more
tennis
power to
player.
you, man. As long as it
Brad,
doesn't kick that habit right
great
back
tennis
off.
player. Is Rhea here? And my niece, my beautiful niece Rhea.
I haven't fully
and the
quit
little
yet.
guy
Been
is
trying.
in school because he's 10. My friends, Leslie, Kathy, Dina, Tiffany, Kim, Paula, and so many of my former coworkers. And Ranking Member Durbin, if you want to get dirt on me, these women have known me since I was a child. Seriously.
Oh,
most
trust
of
me,
them.
Ranking Member
So,
Durbin
thank
wants
you
to
for
get dirt on
indulging
you.
me in that. They've all
I'd be
made a
willing to
very
bet he
long
wants
trip
to
to
see
be
you
here.
naked.
And thank you for holding my hearing as well and not postponing it. I
Oh, well, you're
appreciate
still
that.
doing
Thank you
good, Live
all.
Life.
From the
Yeah, I
moment
went
I interned at the
about a
state
month,
attorney's
well, a little
office
over a month
in
without taking
Tampa,
a drag
Florida,
off
all I
the
wanted
day.
to do was be a prosecutor. The
Dipped
Supreme
a
Court
little bit
certified
and
me
had
when I had
patches.
4 jury trials while
And then
still in law school.
they never got the
Lost
second
most of
round of the
them,
patches called
but
in. There was
had
some other
4
shit that
jury
hit, and I
trials
fell
and never
face
wanted
first
to
off
do
the
anything
wagon for
else. I
a
continued
couple
my
days.
career there,
I mean,
trying
like
everything from
full on
domestic violence cases,
Baltimore
capital
plane
murder
crash
cases,
off the wagon.
the whole gamut. I became a lead trial attorney in courtroom every day, trying career criminals, was deputy chief of a division, and then ultimately was felony bureau chief. and eventually left to become Florida's 37th Attorney General for the state of Florida. Nothing has impacted my career
Hey,
more
as
than
long
my
as you're working in the
experience
right
as a
direction,
state
Martin, that's all that matters.
because I got to know and still keep in
Because I
touch
do,
with
I know I gotta
many
quit. I know I gotta
victims
quit
and their
for
families from when I was a
various reasons,
prosecutor.
but
Upon becoming Attorney General in 2011, I proudly served for 2 terms.
yeah,
I
that's
was
one
term
thing
limited. I would
I had,
probably
which
still be there right now
even
had
with
I not
the
been
one
kicked out
bait
of
that I
office
had,
by
I didn't
term
hit that
limits.
joker. I was
I
good. I
loved
didn't hit
being
it
Attorney General.
like for
I did my
a
best
little
in
over a
Florida
month, and
State
then
to
fell
continue
off the
to
wagon
stand
face
up
first.
for victims of crime
This is my
and to
attempt to
fight
kind of
the
level out
opioid
and then get
crisis
back on
and
the
the
wagon.
drug crisis that was not only facing Florida, but this entire country. Out of the
Cause
top
hell, man, I've been
100, this
smoking
is one of the things I'm the most proud
pretty
of.
damn steady since I was probably
Oxycodone
14,
dispensers in the
15.
entire country, I believe it was 98 of
They're
them.
long hair.
Them lived in Florida. We fought
I have
for
smoked
tough
many a Barrett 50
legislation.
cal in
Kids
my
were
day.
dropping dead every day. We fought for tough
Sad to say,
legislation.
but
And after that legislation, none of those opioid dealers, doctors,
there's another
practiced
joke
in
in there that
Florida.
I'm not gonna say.
We fought to eliminate human trafficking by raising awareness and prevention
Oh, hell,
and
let me go throw
talking
my
to
golf
parents and
right in.
talking to children. We also provided critical resources, including safe houses
The hell
that
did my
my
computer
state
just
was
do?
like. Civil side, we worked to protect consumers. We tackled everything, including off-label prescription marketing, which affects, as you know, many, many people who can't afford prescriptions as well. We partnered with states' attorneys general from both parties and federal agencies across administrations. We went after price gougers during hurricanes. If confirmed as the next Attorney General of the United States, my overriding objective will be to return the Department of Justice to its core mission of keeping Americans safe and vigorously prosecuting criminals. And that includes getting back to basics: gangs, drugs, terrorists, cartels, our border, and our foreign adversaries. That is what the American people expect, and that is what they deserve from the Department of Justice. If confirmed, I will do everything in my power, and it will be my great responsibility to make America safe again. Making America safe again also requires reducing recidivism. We have to fix the Bureau of Prisons, and I am looking on both sides of the aisle. The Bureau has suffered from years of mismanagement, lack of funding, and low morale. I was proud to support President Trump's First Step Act. I think more can be implemented and more can be done on that front. President Trump's leadership on criminal justice reform has demonstrated what is possible when a president is unafraid to do things that have been deemed to be too difficult. We have to reach across the aisle and get solutions for all of these problems. Like the president, I believe we are on the cusp of a new golden age where the Department of Justice can and will do better if I am confirmed. Lastly, and most importantly, if confirmed, I will fight every day to restore confidence and integrity to the Department of Justice and each of its components. The partisanship, the weaponization will be gone. America will have one tier of justice for all. In all
Nice,
this
we
work,
had one
I'll
tier of
collaborate
justice.
closely with this committee. I will work with all of you, as I've committed to do when I met with almost all of you. And I will partner not only with the federal agencies, but with the state and local officials throughout our great country. I look forward to answering your questions today and working together for this country and our Constitution. Thank you, Senators.
Oh yeah, dude, I was smoking long before I could buy cigarettes.
I will ask first
Unless you count
questions
Germany.
of Senator
I
Durbin,
could buy
and
cigarettes
then
in
I'll
Germany,
call on the Democrat people the way that Senator
even
Durbin
being
would
well under 18.
say so on their arrival or here by seniority, in the same way that on the House side. And I'll make sure that I don't abuse the 7 minutes. I want you to have your attention on this binder that I put up here.
So the binder of
Gets to
women,
a
I got
key,
another guy in trouble.
Factor of each senator's role in oversight. It contains 144 oversight letters that I sent to the Biden-Harris Justice Department and its component agencies, with many of those letters in there to the FBI. Adding letters to the Inspector General, that would be about 165 letters.
It has a speed bump.
So I've sent more letters since you've been in my office before Christmas. Should you be confirmed, 144 letters will be your
You're
responsibility.
not good.
The responses I have received so far fall in 2 categories. First, they weren't answered at
Oh yeah,
all.
Barton.
Second, I received a response, but it didn't fully respond.
Dude, you
Said
go.
another
There are
way, the
very few
Justice
cigarette vending
Department
machines
merely
left.
sent me words on a piece of paper.
I remember where's the last time I saw one. I saw one not too long back.
You'll
I
have
can't
an
remember where.
obligation to respond even
But a
to
pack
the
of cigarettes out of
minority
it was like
and
$10.
consider
at
a
least.
letter from them, even if my signature's not on it, as they want information. Will you commit to responding to my oversight requests
Had to
as
get it
well as the
sent, G.
requests of other members of the committee?
Yeah, I got
Chairman, either
mine
I or my top staff
2 years
will
ago, something
personally
like that. A year ago.
review the letters and do everything we can to respond to you.
Your
Can't remember.
tenure as Florida
It does
Attorney
felt like I
General
had a
was
midget walk around
impressive.
punching me in the sack for
You
about a
fought
week.
against pill mills, human trafficking. You eliminated a backlog of rape test kits in state labs. You fought against organized retail theft, and you were known to stand for law and order. With such achievements, it's easy to see why the people of Florida reelected you in 2014 and why President-elect Trump nominated you to serve as the nation's chief law enforcement officer. So this gives you a chance to tell us on this committee,
They actually might
the
have
people
still
of
have
this
a couple
country,
machines
what
running
you're
around
proud
a
of
couple
is your
bars
record as
around
Attorney
here.
General of Florida.
But there was somewhere else I saw
Thank
one.
you, Chairman Grassley. I
Can't
was
remember
truly
exactly where it was
honored
at.
to serve the people of the state of Florida for 8 years, but it was a team effort. I had great people around me, many of whom are in this room today. And we did a lot. We did a lot to fight crime, and I've been reminiscing a lot since I was asked to take this nomination. Opioids, as I talked about, were a top
It didn't feel
priority
good
right
if you're
when
asking
I
what it
took
felt like to
office.
have a midget
When I was
punch you in
running
the
for
sack.
office, I went through the entire state of Florida. Parents were walking up to me, handing me pictures of their children who were deceased from opioid abuse. After I was
You know what?
elected, I
While we're
took those
thinking about
pictures
this,
and I
because we're
framed
waiting
them
on this, right?
in my office as a goal of stopping that fight, which I talked about in my opening statement. And if U.S. Attorney General, I'll bring those pictures back out there to
With
inspire
Alabama
me
state of the state's
on the
happening,
further
I
drug
ain't
abuse
really
we're
worried about
facing
that.
throughout this country.
I already know the state of the state.
We also learned that something else was happening. Pregnant women
But,
were having babies
actually,
as
that
a result
wasn't
of being
bad,
opioid dependent. We call it neonatal abstinence syndrome. We fought to educate mothers. We fought that issue as well.
So I'm going to mute her for a sec. Still keep an eye on what the Senate's doing. But this was on today.
We're going to break away from this at this point, but you can watch this program anytime
And,
through our website, cspan.org. Live now to a Senate hearing on permanently classifying fentanyl as a Schedule
a loving father and a class.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit.
Bears are none the wiser. To discuss fentanyl and the devastating
Because
impact that
Democrats do a
opioid
great
addiction
job in this hearing of
has on
talking more
America.
about guns than they
In
do
just
about
a
fentanyl.
decade, this synthetic opioid has emerged as the deadliest drug in American history. All it takes is 2 milligrams. That's a fraction of the size of a penny. to
You're not
cause an
wrong, Live Life.
overdose. It is so cheap that dealers are lacing lethal amounts into street drugs like cocaine and heroin.
But this was a hearing
and
from today
buyers are
too
none the
about
wiser.
fentanyl.
There's an overdose crisis in America, but we've
And
learned
I'm
that
serious. For
evidence-based solutions
parts of this
reduce
hearing
death.
that I heard, Democrats
In
did more to
fact,
talk about guns than
in
they did about fentanyl,
2023, overdose
stopping
deaths
fentanyl from
actually
coming in the United
decreased for the
States.
first time since 2018, going down by more than 10%. We need to look at every factor that contributes to this reduction: counseling and treatment, training for first responders, naloxone to our hardest hit communities, all make a difference. We must also address how this poison gets in the hands of the most vulnerable people in America, our kids. Too often, fentanyl is peddled in the open on some of the world's largest social media platforms. Last Congress, the Judiciary Committee advanced several bipartisan bills that would finally hold these companies accountable and demand safeguards be put in place to protect our children. One of the bills is the Cooper Davis
Get
Act.
to go off social media.
Cooper is a 16-year-old Kansas teen who tragically lost his life to a fentanyl-laced pill he bought through Snapchat. This bill would require big tech companies to take a more proactive role in stopping drug dealers from using their platforms. Sadly, Cooper is not the only teen who has lost his life to drugs peddled on social media. Bridget Noring is here to testify today. Her son, Devin, tragically died after taking a fentanyl-laced pill he thought was Percocet that he purchased over Snapchat. There's a lawsuit that she'll tell us about from the parents of those who were victims through Snapchat. In the coming days, I'll join Senators Marshall, Shaheen, and others.
Wait. This says they're voting on Pam Bondi right now. I didn't hear them call for a freaking vote on her. You know, normally they call a nomination to the floor. Hey, this is what we're voting on, yada, yada. Maybe I missed something before all the freaking numbnuts went out and started talking. But yeah, apparently they're voting on Pam Bondi right now. Dude, BD, the shit's rough, man. And there's, because I've dealt with pain management, man, since I was 18, actually dealing with some narcotics, and surgeries, and there's a lot of ways that you could manage like opiates, because that's not the only thing that even tries to help me. Opiates and long-term pain care than what they're doing now. Literally what they've done is, you know, for the long time, it was very easy to get opioids. Any doctor would write them. They'd give you a shit ton of them. Hold on. I'll finish that thought. I got to go get my garlic done. Finish that thought. My garlic bread's going to take about a couple of minutes. But anyway, and doctors are writing some really serious shit. I mean, God knows I've had my prescriptions for Oxycontin and a bunch of other stuff. but they crack down on the doctors prescribing this stuff to the point where some people can't even get a dose, um, and they end up taking pills. They run out of pills, and now they're out in the streets trying to get stuff to kind of make up for what they took, and that's where they're running into fentanyl, and that's what's killing a lot of people. Or doctors would completely drop people, not set up treatment, nothing, just deuces, you're out, and leave someone to their own devices. There's a lot of stuff that could be done different. Yeah, it's rough, BV. It is, and if you're tough enough to tough it out, I mean, tough it, man. And I've gone through years where I just, nope, I'm not taking shit. And then it finally gets to the point again where it's like, fuck, man, I need something. I ain't slept in damn 3 days. The only time I'm sleeping is if I'm in a freaking shower. I've completely flooded my master bath a couple times because I'd sit down in the shower. It's in a closed shower. I'd sit down in the shower and actually fall asleep, laying against the seat. And then my fat ass covers the drain when I get comfortable. And then all of a sudden someone's opening the door, knocking me on the head, going, look, dum dum. We basically got an aquarium for the bathroom right now, thanks to you. It's just, you deal with what you can deal with. And there's a lot of shit doctors could do for people that would allow them to step away from narcotics, deal with, because a lot of people are just terrified of withdrawals. I mean, terrified of it, and God knows they suck. I think the worst time I've ever withdrawn. What was I taking? Was I taking 280 milligram oxycontins a day plus 5 milligrams for the trough pain? And finally got so bad I come off of it. And I was staying with my folks again. And my mom was in Arkansas, my dad was there at the house. And my dad walked out of the bedroom area, and I was sitting at the computer with a sweatshirt on, with shorts on, sweating bullets, and couldn't stay still. He was like, what are you doing? I was like, yeah, I'm detoxing. Gonna be here for a week or so. Done homework? All the homework's done. But yeah, coming off of boxes like that is a good 7-day crawl the walls, can't sleep, can't stay still, can't get comfortable, and a bunch of other things you go through when you come off that shit that I ain't talking about right now. Besides the fact that you can't keep anything in your stomach, anything you put in your mouth immediately goes to your butthole and just comes out. Not. Opioids never worked on you anyway. I've just always had a really high tolerance for them. So they can hit me with something that would put someone else's lights out. And I've literally had doctors look at me and go, you're not feeling a thing, buddy. That Ron White, can we turn this up to Mormon at least? I mean, yeah, that's about how it felt. Let's see. We'll stay with this because they're saying they're voting. So
with the career ethics officials.
I'm kind of interested to see whether any Republicans vote against Bobby. All the Democrats going to vote.
I would also like to point out to you, I don't believe that I would be the first attorney general who has represented and advocated for
But it's
businesses.
literal. I mean,
in
a
their
lot of
past.
people have gotten hooked on painkillers
course
through
not.
medical
The
shit.
question is whether you will
Um,
recuse yourself from any case
Now they're
involving
instead of
your
just being
Ballard
get a
clients.
real pill
One of
off
those
of the black
clients was the
market, they're getting
GEO
fentanyl
group,
off the
was it not?
black market and killing.
Geo, yes.
A private prison company you lobbied for. It
I think
manages
when you look
correctional
at it, there's way more
institutions
deaths
and
from
detention
fentanyl
facilities.
now
The
than there
GEO
was
group
from
has faced
opioid
criticism
overdose
for
before they
safety
started all this
violations,
bullshit.
inadequate health care, and poor management. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is GEO's largest source of revenue. Under the Trump administration, GEO stands to earn hundreds of millions of dollars by detaining immigrants if there is this mass deportation. Would you sense any conflict of interest if you're asked to judge the performance of this
I
government
wish they
contract?
would lead the
Senator,
vote
I will consult with the career
numbers
ethics
bigger than
officials
this
within the Department of Justice and make the
part of the
appropriate
hearing.
decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Graham.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank
You forgot to say that John's family was from South Carolina.
The upstate, I'm sorry.
Give you a pass on that. From Anderson, by the way. So, listen,
I swear to
President
God,
Trump
it looks
asked
like
a
it says
bunch of us, who would you
63,
pick for Attorney General?
27.
How many of you got asked that?
63 to yes, 27 to
side.
the no. Or is that
Probably
38?
didn't ask
38.
Dick, but it asked me.
Maybe it's
I said
38
Pam
now.
Bondi. That's like an easy decision. I couldn't think of anybody more qualified that he knew, that he trusted. And it's okay to have, you were his lawyer, right?
Yes, sir. I represented him when they tried to impeach him the first time as part of White House Counsel Office of Special Counsel.
Being Trump's lawyer prepares you for many things. So, yeah, you have a longstanding relationship with the president. He trusts you. That's a good thing. That's probably why President Kennedy picked his
The
brother,
vote's there.
Bobby Kennedy. I guess you can say no to your older brother. I'm sure he would. But this idea, there's
I
something bad.
don't think this is going to be another
Who do you pick? You pick people you know. You pick people you
50
trust.
50
People you're
split
qualified.
to
I'm
where you
glad
have
he
to have
picked
the
you. He knows you,
VP,
trusts you, and you're
come
highly
in
qualified.
and
So the
actually
idea that
break
there's
the
something
tie.
wrong with that is
Don't
just
see it happening that way.
absolutely ridiculous. So
Cash
let's talk
Patel, on the
about
other hand, going to
the
the full
job
Senate.
you're about to have here. Do you support making certain drug cartels in Mexico foreign terrorist organization?
Senator, I personally went to Mexico. I personally dealt with these cartels when I was a state prosecutor, and they are a
Yeah, dude,
grave,
Barton, and mine's a
violent
lot of
threat
nerve
to
pain
our
and stuff to
country.
crush
Yes,
this.
Senator.
I just read the
President,
bottom
good,
of what you said.
Now, when it comes
And
to
eating
Crossfire
800
Hurricane,
milligrams
those
of
days over if you're Attorney
Motrin
General?
and all the other shit.
Absolutely.
Okay, Lake and Riley.
It
you're
does good
familiar
for
with
other
that
things.
case?
It does real good
Sadly,
for
I
other
am,
things.
Senator Graham.
Do you know
For
why
this, no.
the man who
It,
killed her was released from custody?
Pretty much, I might as
He
well
was
be eating
paroled
Flintstone
due to
vitamins.
detention
That's about how
capacity
it
at the
works.
Central Processing Center in El Paso, Texas. Now, that's not your call. You'll be DOJ. But do you agree with me that the statute regarding parole doesn't allow
I'm really
parole to be based on we
right.
don't have detention beds? There's nothing in that statute
As spineless
would
as some
authorize
Republicans
parole
are, I'll
based
put it
on
that
lack
way.
of
With as
capacity.
spineless as some Republicans
Are you
are,
familiar with that statute?
I
Yes,
can
sir, and
see it
that's
coming down to
frightening.
that.
Yeah, well, it's frightening.
Oh,
Are you
he's
going
not
to fix it?
qualified. He wants to
I'm
destroy
going to
the
do everything
ATF.
in my power
We're
to
back to
fix it
putting
if
Are
confirmed
law
as Attorney
you going to
enforcement.
General.
advise President Trump we need more beds? Tom Homan's the guy that's going to do this, but would you, as Attorney
JFK,
General,
did
say
he
we
get
need more
fully
bed
confirmed
space
today? He
so
went
Lake and Riley
through
never happens again?
the
Senator, my job, if confirmed as Attorney General, will be to keep
confirmation
America
for the
safe.
Do you think we
And
need
that
Senate,
more
Senate
includes,
detention space?
Finance
and that
Committee.
includes having enough space
And he
for
went through
violent
there and
criminals,
got referred
people
to
that
the
should
Senate.
not be in this country,
Yeah.
who have committed violent crimes.
To
And
the
Lake and
public.
Riley is one of many.
Yeah, but 41,000 beds in this country to detain people. We got like millions of people here illegally. We let this dude go because we didn't have any place to put him. I hope those days are over. And if, Tom, you're listening out there, I hope you'll create enough detention space to make sure we don't find this dilemma ever again. Do you think we're at war? And if so, who with?
Oh, Senator, we're at war on so many fronts.
Are we at war with ISIS?
Of course, we're at war with ISIS.
They're at war with us. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely,
Do
Senator.
you think since our withdrawal from Afghanistan, threats to our homeland have gone up from ISIS?
Yes.
Okay, March 7th, 2024, General Corella. I assess ISIS-K retains the capability and will to attack the U.S. and Western interests abroad in as little as 6 months with little or no warning. That's March of 2024. General McKenzie, ISIS-K has a strong desire to attack the United States after it began to grow in Afghanistan following U.S. exit in August 2021. He also stated the threat to ISIS-K from ISIS-K is growing. Major General Quantock, the U.S. remains target number one for ISIS-K. Do you agree with that?
Senator, I don't have my security clearance, but from everything I've read and heard, ISIS is one of the greatest threats.
Okay, well, when you get your security clearance, you're going to find out these people are coming after us and they want to kill us. So I would like to have a strategy to deal with the ISIS threat that's beyond just the law enforcement model. Does that make sense to you, that we should use every tool in the toolbox?
Senator, that includes wrapping in our state and local officials too, and better cooperation throughout our country and our world.
I totally agree. Do you support reauthorizing FISA in 2025?
Senator, I believe 702 is up in 2026.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry,
believe
26.
it's 2026, and we will closely be looking at that. FISA is a very
Do you
important
agree
tool.
that the 702 provides important intel gathering capability to protect our nation?
Extremely important.
Okay. So, Pam, you're about to step into a job that's one of the most important jobs in any democracy. Let's go back to pardons. If I'm a lawyer for somebody in
Right.
jail, would you promise to listen to the application and read
Yeah,
it before you
DV,
make a
man, it's
decision?
Yes.
Okay. No matter who
it's
you
still
are.
pretty damn trashed.
Good. That's the way it works. People want to bargain with you up here. Will you do this? Will you do that? All I ask you to do is call it as you see it, hire good, competent people, and give the president the best legal advice you can. Run the Department of Justice in a manner that other people would want to join it one day. Growing up, I had a fondness for the FBI. I watched the show, I think it's every Sunday. Wanted to be an FBI agent. Right now, needs an image overhaul. So you have a real task ahead of you in two areas: restore trust. So many Americans have lost trust in the Department of
All right,
Justice,
here we go.
and to make sure.
So this is Senate video without the other. Oh, come on. Well, I'm gonna have to reshare that. That way we can see.
Mr. Van Hollen, Mr. Van Hollen, no. Mrs. Brett, aye.
We can actually see the vote tallies there. Whereas we don't have the hearing. So we'll see. Let's get a close up of it. So it's yay 48, nay 45 right now. So I'm listening. I'll be right back.
Mr. Tillis, aye. Ms. Cantwell, no. Mr. Hawley, Mr. Hawley. Aye. Mr. Haggerty, Mr. Haggerty, aye. Mr. Fetterman, Mr. Fetterman, aye.
So Fetterman voted for her.
Mr. Cruz, Mr. Cruz, aye.
So yeah, they got this in the bag. Easy. It is interesting to see Fetterman vote for her. That is actually
Mr.
really interesting.
Cotton, Mr. Cotton, aye.
So hell, we'll hang till they get the final vote on this, and then I'm bouncing. That makes the night easy.
On this vote, the yeas are 54, the nays are 46. The nomination is confirmed. Under the previous order, the motion to reconsider is considered made and laid upon the table, and the president will be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Mr. President,
Mr. Leader.
You ask unanimous consent that the mandatory quorum call with respect to the Turner nomination be waived.
Is there an objection? Without objection, the clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture by unanimous consent.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the nomination of Eric Turner of Texas to be Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, signed by 17 senators.
By unanimous consent, the mandatory quorum call has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on the nomination of Eric Turner of Texas to be Secretary of Housing and Urban Development shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Also Brooks, Ms. Baldwin, Mr. Banks.
Yes. All right. So, hell, I'll tell you what. I'm going to keep an eye on some of that and just kind of listen to it. I got a few other things I got to do, but I'm going to end this one here. So Pam Bondi's in. It was a pretty easy vote. I mean, as much hell as Wyden and Schumer and Durbin and all them raised. I mean, she's in. It didn't take a tiebreak or anything like that. A couple of Democrats crossed and voted for Pam Bondi, so she's there. I mean, I expected probably a little bit more drama on her, but even Fetterman voted for her. telling you, that guy did not have a stroke. He was actually growing a brain in real time. And that was all the hang-ups and shit that he had. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. You perks, take it easy. You guys be cool. Keep that thing on you at all times. And we'll catch you guys on the next one, man. Love you guys to death. Be cool. Be safe. And Chess, I'll check out that video. Appreciate it, brother. Later on, guys.